Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast, streaming live at TruthSeekah.com, your source for spiritual and inspirational music, teachings, and media. This show is designed to help you grow in your walk with Christ and advance the kingdom of heaven. And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. Man, I'm excited, delighted, blessed to be able to be with you guys again for another exciting, amazing episode, man. We're going to talk all things spiritual. This is what we do. We talk spirituality, faith, love, God, the spirit world, all that cool stuff, you know. Really leave no topic, no stone unturned, man. So we're gonna talk a little bit about it today. I got an awesome guest lined up for you guys. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who is supporting the work that I'm doing here on the podcast and everything that I'm bringing to the table with the music and all that cool stuff via Patreon. This is a listener-supported show. Doesn't exist without your help. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for believing in the work and supporting. So I want to give a shout out to some of the latest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to Javi 2 times, my brother Javier, man. Thank you for coming on, supporting via Patreon. And thank you for buying a ticket to come to the retreat that we got coming up, the men's retreat. And just really quick on that, just while I'm mentioning it, we did get another date scheduled for May the 21st. It's on a Thursday. There are 2 spots that just opened up. If anybody wants to get in on that, it's a men's retreat, Mobile, Alabama. We're going out to the forest to talk to God. So if you want to get in on that and hang out with me, spend the night, all that cool stuff, go to TruthSeekah.com, get it there. Shout out to Summer McGann. Thank you, Summer, for coming on, believing in the work. You guys are awesome. You guys are the enablers. You enable me to do this and keep moving forward. If you'd like to support, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you get access to my entire discography of music. You get access to our Thursday night School of the Mystics, which is the community aspect to what we're building here. And, a bunch of really cool stuff. Check it out. Exclusive interviews and behind-the-scenes stuff, all that good stuff. Also, my book is here for those of you who have not had a chance to check it out. I was told last week that it was backward on the screen, and I still haven't fixed it. Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God. Get it on Amazon. You can get it at TruthSeekah.com as well. Check it out. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on today's guest. I'm excited about this interview. This is somebody's music who I have been listening to for a long time now. Ever since I got born again, gave my life to the Lord, I'm just looking for good Christian music that I can listen to. And I ran across this artist some time ago and remember trying to minister to my sister and giving my sister a Bible for her birthday and a Jennifer Knapp CD. What's up, Jennifer Knapp? What's going on? Welcome to the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm just trying to imagine the face that she gave you when you did that.
Well, I'm just trying to think, like, for us, you know, like we tap into the worship and so we have these beautiful, amazing encounters and we just think that it translates to other people. Like, if you just listen to this CD, you'll get saved. You'll feel what I feel. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it works like that.
Sometimes it does, and that might explain why I get like people send me packets of stuff right now, hoping that I'll get on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, or to send you sermons. A sermon that spoke to them, right?
Yeah, I suppose. I think the other day somebody sent me like close to like maybe like 3 or 4 DVDs and maybe like 4 or 5 CDs and a couple books and a Bible, and the note of the thing said that. It basically was the premise of it was that, you know, if I read this stuff that I would get on the straight and narrow and that I would know who God was if only I would listen to those things. And so I found it like really interesting that, you know, that's often sometimes I think sometimes the impression we get. I'm not saying that you did this. I think there's a genuine joy. Like the good side of it is there's a genuine joy and a want to share something that has spoken to you in your life. And the weird thing is sometimes if you show up unannounced and give this gift and then also doubly insult someone saying you don't do it right, it has, you don't know anything at all. You have to know the God that I know. You have to know I think I've learned something in that. Like part of me in my younger self would have taken a gift like that and said, you're kind of an asshole, like for doing this to me. And on the other side of it, like knowing, like as I've matured, realizing that most people are actually just really enthusiastic to be able to show something that's been, incredibly life-changing in their life and deeply meaningful. And at the same time, they kind of skip over the social skills of getting to know you, what a gift really means, And I think that's something that I've even learned kind of later on in my career at 2.0. I thought for a long time, and it was a gift I think my audience has given back to me of the music that I did early on in my career. Yeah. Because when, like, for a long time, I thought I couldn't really engage in some of my Christian music stuff because I'd had a negative experience with the church. I'd had theological shifts in my own life. And I thought the only way to solve that problem was to throw the baby out with the bathwater and that I couldn't sing it anymore. But I realized that there were still parts of that music that were still, they were from me. They were connected to me in a deep way, and they hadn't really changed, or they hadn't died. Like some of them died. Like there's some songs I don't want to sing anymore. But when people started to tell me about what the music meant to them, they kind of gifted it back to me. They would tell me the stories. They would take the time to build a relationship with me, to tell me the story of what this music meant for them, not what it should mean for me, but what it meant for them. And I think that was really something I started to go, oh wow, like there really is something to the way the gifts that we have when we bring them, whatever they are. To be able to share them is like the second part of that gift, to be able to discover something then and to give it and to share it. And to do that in a way that's really meaningful is really socially scary, but you still have a good relationship with your sister, I hope.
Oh, heck yeah. No, she's, hopefully it planted some seeds. I mean, that's what I wanted. I wanted her to listen to it and say, what must I do to be saved? You know what I'm saying? Have you, speaking about gifts and stuff, have you seen in this little short snippet that Penn Jillette told a story, the magician, he's a staunch atheist.
Yeah, I know Penn.
Goes again, have you seen the little clip that he did talking about a gift that somebody gave him at a show that he did?
No, but I bet I would find it amazing.
Oh my goodness. So just really quick, he was at a show and somebody came and was checking it out, and the guy was a Christian. And after the show, he comes to him, shakes his hand. Hey, I'm so and so. Good to meet you. Great show. He said, hey, I wanted to give you this. And he knows, like, he's not just an atheist. He's like, the Bible is BS, and he got all this stuff where he attacks Christians and the logic and stuff. And so he said, I just want to give you this. And he gave him just a little green Gideon's Bible. And he said, my number's in here if you have any questions or whatever. And then that was it. He didn't try to preach to him. And so, it touched Penn because he did the video, and he said, he's like, just does a little video. He says, man, that really moved me because people know how aggressive I am. They know, like, and so most people just stay away from him. They don't try to get into a debate or something. But this guy, he says, I don't respect people who don't proselytize. Like, if you think that I'm going to die and go to hell, like after this show, like if I get in a car wreck, I'm going to spend eternity in hell, and you don't care enough to tell me, he's like, I don't respect you. And this dude, knowing how aggressive he is, just in the simplicity of just, hey, check this out. And if it speaks to you, give me a call. And he's like, just the utmost respect. And he was kind of like holding back tears when he was talking about it. Huh. And I get letters and stuff too. And I get Bible tracts. Like somebody sent me a Bible tract of, this is the reality of hell. Those old Bible tracts. And there's like, and no, I have my own relationship with God through Christ. It's very Christian, but it's not the way that they do it, or I don't believe in hell anymore, or some of my things have changed. Like they want to convert you over to their way of thinking. But like you said, you kind of got to respect it a little bit, right? You got to like, I'm thankful. Like, if you think that I'm going to hell, thank you for trying to help me. Because if I knew that if somebody was, there was a cliff at the end of my road and people were driving right off of it, if I didn't go out there and stop every car and say, hey, wait a minute, do not go that way, guys. Everybody's driving off that cliff. Like, that, what does that show for my love and compassion for other people and empathy? So there's this, our relationship changes with those ideas of people trying to reach out to us, because those people who are trying to reach out to you, they think they're doing God's work,
Yeah. I struggled. God, I still do. I struggled for a long time with the concept of evangelism. And even though I'm a product of it, strangely enough, it's kind of that, like, how, like, I even start stammering when I think about it. Like, one of the hardest things for me to reconcile, in kind of reclaiming my faith, and I practice as a Christian. Like, I think that's important to say, and we can get into that, what that means later if you want. But it took me a long time to really stomach saying that for a lot of negative reasons, and why I had to do that. But one of the things that was made that really difficult to kind of reconcile is the fact that I'd had a moment in, a spiritual moment in my life where, in evangelical speak, and I wouldn't say this today, but I got saved. That's not a term I feel real comfortable with, although I appreciate other people do. Yeah. But it was a turning point in my life where I was like, yes, I'm going to turn toward God. And at the time, I confessed Jesus as my savior because that's what everyone around me told me. And that was kind of like this evangelical moment. And even though that was a life altering event for the better, and I would tell you radically, like, I think that radically altered the health trajectory, the peace that I've had in my life. And it's been a long story in doing that. It wasn't an overnight thing, but I look at that moment and I go, I can't deny that moment as being a turning point and a critical to the fact that I'm still here, right? That it truly, like, was a moment that saved me. So how do I reconcile that and not steal that, steal anything away from that? But at the same time, where I grew really frustrated in terms of the ways that a lot of people inside of my community at the time understood and conceptualized evangelism was purely that I was a piece of shit and that I was going to hell. And without doing the religious thing, without turning toward God in this very specific way, that I was doomed, right? I was doomed for failure. I was doomed for pain and sorrow. And that I generally was not a good person until I did these things, that they couldn't like me, or that God wouldn't like me until I did these things. And I it's kind of close to the idea, I think. But I think as I kind of began to understand my faith and traveled further on, the more the offense actually started to materialize as what is the problem? What was the problem that I was having with this? And as I looked through that, part of it was like, this is a gift. This is a really beautiful gift to give to somebody, to open up the possibility that we are, that we have a life of meaning and spiritual connectedness, however we name it, in whatever traditions we may or may not name it, because I'm pretty open-handed when it comes to that. Like for example, I would say I practice in the Christian tradition. That is the language of which I'm fluent in. Yep. But I may have been born some other place to another community, and we may have translated that in a different way. I could be Muslim, I could be Jewish, I could be Hindu, who knows? But this is my tradition. The problem that we have with that is not understanding that as a gift and open-handedness to be able to give to somebody else. And so, the idea that when we come to share something with as excited as we are, we skip over the relationship. We skip over the idea that we're participating with somebody else, that what we really want, hopefully, for somebody else is to have a life of joy and to have a life of meaning and to be fruitful and to be blessed. And that we can do that without necessarily having to force upon them a religion that they may not be ready for, or a tradition that may not speak to them. It's a real challenge. And to be able to understand the gift of that, I think, has really altered the way that I even talk about my faith in public. Yeah. It is not something that I own and that I possess and that I give to you as an option for you. It's an option for you if you're interested in it come along. I'll be more than happy to spend hours talking about it and sharing with that. But I don't know. Like I'm really resistant to I'm not resistant, but I understand the pitfalls of being so excited about something that it even works that way with a television show, right? Like, oh my God.
Watch it. You ain't watched it yet?
You gotta watch this. And you show up all excited. And then you get there and you go, what the hell were you talking about? This show's a piece of crap. Like, it just doesn't speak to you. It's not the right language. You're not in the frame of mind. And somebody has said that to me about countless television shows. And then I go back and watch them later on, like 2 years later after they're out of fashion. I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. Have you seen it?
Walking
like you
Dead.
have to. I'm not a Walking Dead, but I am a Breaking Bad person.
Yes.
But there's something about the right time and the right space for things, and the insistence sometimes, I think, and the enthusiasm sometimes that people have for the things that have been meaningful to them, to impose them on you rather than invite you into them or say, listen, like there is something wonderful here for me. I think that's a real shift in trying to think about the gift of what faith can be and what a spiritual tradition can be. And you can also really easily turn somebody off if we don't handle it well. Like, I mean, I still get it. We're probably impervious to it. We've talked about like the boatloads of stuff that we get in the mail that tell us that we're doing it wrong, or like the pendulets. But I think the part of it that I've learned about that is that even when I get those things, I actually look at it going, okay, what is it that you are trying to share with me? Like, I try and go as positive as I can. I was like, what thing am I maybe missing? Like, what gift is here? And if there's a gift that I can receive, I try and receive it and not necessarily just go, man, you're a jerk. Like telling me I'm doing it all wrong. I try and do it a little bit better now, but I don't know. Just my little soapbox.
No, I'm with you. I want to just keep going deeper into this, but just kind of like we're already like almost 20 minutes in. For people who don't know who you are and what your journey, just kind of give them an overview. You were.
I have to do it.
I mean, I can tell it from my experience. What I see, I'll probably get it wrong, and why I want to do this interview, but. I mean, I'm going back when I got born again. I found your music, Jennifer Knapp. You were doing all the big concerts, and there was only a few really big ones, and I feel like you were one of the big ones early on doing Christian music. This is my perspective, and
I never felt big, man. I felt like tiny and stupid.
Well, I mean, whether there was good marketing and promo that made you look big. Let's say that, all the good, photo shoots and all that kind of stuff. But found your music, fell in love with it. As I'm going back listening to more now. I forgot how many good songs and hits that you put out, because like when I think about your music and your legacy of what it was in the Christian tradition or whatever, there's 2 or 3 that stand out. You know what I'm saying? The big ones, but then like you have a freaking amazing catalog of so many good songs that I forgot about, and I'm going back listening to them, and it is a gift to listen. Like, oh my God. Forgot about this one. Forgot about that one. Forgot about that one. I'm like getting my wife like, remember this one? And for me, it's a stamp of nostalgia going back to my Christian faith when I was, just becoming a Christian, and then being able to listen to it now and decipher your lyrics and hear where you are now with the new stuff that's coming out that I'm still enjoying, and seeing where you are in your faith and being able to hold on. So that's where, my relationship with your music is, right? And so you were at your height of Christian music and doing the tours and going to churches and doing all that kind of thing. And then I seen, again, from my perspective, I seen an interview with Larry King that you came out.
Yeah, that's fast forward. You skipped like 7 whole years where I know,
right?
Anything.
I'm just trying to give an overview for
that's great. I love it.
Things.
I love it.
So I seen this interview with Larry King. And one of my favorite Christian artists came out as a lesbian. And you didn't just come out, you went on Larry King to talk about it and debate a pastor. And I'm listening to it and stuff, and I'm confused because I'm a Christian who thinks that's bad and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's probably a lot of Christians relationship with, okay, she came out, she left the church, blah, 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 blah. That's it.
Hey, just as an aside, Penn Jillette was actually in the green room that day that I was taping at Larry King.
Wow.
Like I met him that particular day, and it was weird. And he's a musician as well. And I actually had my gig bag because I had to jet right after that show and head down to San Diego. So my gig bag was all in there, and somebody was leaning on the top of my gig bag, and Penn Jillette like defends my guitar. He's like, "Hey, dude, you can't do that." And he leans over and he goes, "Jennifer, somebody's leaning on your gig bag." Of course, I'm like, what are they going to do if I tell them not to do it? You're like 7'9". Like, dude, you tell them. But anyway, he rescued my guitar, and he thought I was pretty badass for taking Bob Botsford on. He'd watched. I think he'd somewhat watched some of the taping, but it was a weird moment. But as an aside, Penn Jillette was there, so that was kind of a weird moment in our podcast synchronicity.
Yeah. So, I mean, anything that I left out, I mean, that's just an overview of what I've seen. I'm an outsider, you know what I'm saying? And I seen that, right? Listen to the worship music and the beautiful stuff you've put out, and then seeing that interview, which was a really, really awkward interview. You know what I'm saying? I know it was early on for you, and you're really passionate, and you're trying to prove your faith, and this guy's like telling you why you're not a Christian anymore. It was really strange to even have that conversation with somebody, right?
Yeah, it was a really bizarre experience. Like I it wasn't something that I sought out for myself. I mean, CNN called me when I'd come out recently, like maybe a few weeks prior to that, and a few weeks prior to that, and it took off, you know, in media, and like got a lot of groundswell, and a lot of people noticed that I'd come out, and it stirred up a lot of controversy on like whether you can be gay and Christian, and got a lot of, you know, very loud and volatile conversations going. Thanks for doing that all on top of my head. But so CNN called and thought it would be fun to have Larry King leaning over a desk going, "Can you be gay and Christian?" And I was like, this is the dumbest question ever. And they set up the whole Bob Botsford thing. And of course, Ted Haggard came on. I had no idea what I was walking into.
Ted Haggard. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Which, you know, he kind of became the defender in that little vignette.
Yeah.
So it was really new days for me. Like, I didn't really quite know. At that point, I didn't even feel like I was capable of calling myself a Christian, and didn't even know if I wanted to use that language to define my spiritual experience. Like at the time, I would have told you, and I think when I was doing a lot of in public, what I would say on a microphone is basically, I'm a person of faith. I knew that I hadn't given up on. I hadn't given up on my spiritual journey. Nothing shifted for me, and I didn't feel like I was, for lack of a better way to say it, not in God's favor. But I really struggled with how I was going to participate in a community that had understood Christianity and had taught Christianity to me in a very particular way. It's that, you know, you had to believe in these particular things to qualify. You have to practice in this particular way to qualify. And I didn't practice that way anymore. And I didn't believe some of the things that those things taught. And so it really made, I would look at that and I go, well, you're right. I'm not a Christian then. So what does this mean for this vibrant life that I have? How do I talk about this? And, it took several years of kind of like going, okay, what do I want to do with this in my own private life, and committing to like, not committing, but like saying, no, I really don't want to throw this out. This means something to me. This is something that is very real. And even though I don't have the words to explain it anymore, I don't have any other tradition that I can go to without going through this tradition that I already know and the language that I'm fluent in. Why am I going to learn a new language when I already have a language?
She became Buddhist, Yeah.
Well, and that was a legit option, but what I will say by that, actually, ironically, is that one of the things that I've been kind of increasingly more interested in, the short way to say it is like giving up spiritual non-possessive, being spiritually non-possessive, in that, like you can only know God by being Christian. I don't buy it. I've never bought it. But with that spiritual non-possessiveness, one of the things that I like when I was starting to kind of deal with all the conflict around LGBTQ stuff, I started to read other faith perspectives. Like what are Muslim people experience? Well, what are queer Muslim people experiencing? What are queer Jewish people experiencing? What are queer Hindus experiencing? How do these other religions deal with sexual diversity and sexuality? And as I started to read these other traditions, like, they had really amazing insights into who God was, how we perceive our theologies, how we spiritually practice, what this means to our bodies and our sexualities and our genders, if they mean anything at all.
Yeah.
And what I experienced in reading other people's experiences and opening the door is realizing that, one, I don't own God.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I don't know everything that there is to know about how to find God and how to practice God, and nor does my tradition. And so I appreciated that. And it actually gave me a depth of ownership to the language that I had.
Yeah.
So in reading from a Jewish perspective, for example, there's a wonderful book that I think it's God versus Gay by Jay Michelson. He's a Jewish rabbi. I don't know if he would still call himself a rabbi, but I think he studied in the rabbinic tradition. Anyway, I may be getting some details of his pedigree a little bit wrong, but I read his book through the Torah and his approach to the Torah and the LGBTQ issues, and I was like, oh wow, like, this is the same text that I read in the Christian tradition, right? Just in a different way. And I was like, I don't know, it just opened the door to me to understanding my own tradition by being open-handed with my tradition, instead of like insisting that I know it or that I own it. That to read somebody else's perspective near or close by, to realize that, wow, like, we have something to give. It only makes our faith and our spiritual, our access to spirituality to understand how broad it is, how wide it is, and how awesome it is.
Wow. So much to say to that. First of all, just even your story, I don't even think it's about coming out. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it other people can relate to it. It's about just finding out who they are, their identity, and what we've been told that your relationship with God is supposed to look like as a Christian, because even the terminology and things that you're saying, like, it relates to me so much of finding out who I am. And if I'm going to use this terminology, and what does God look like, and what does my reconciling faith, and do I still want to call myself a Christian after what that means to other people and what that means to me? And should I, abandon that part of my life? And just, I think it's applicable for everyone on this journey, right? Because in the giants are different that we fight, right? They maybe have different names and things like that, but the story is similar, right? In the path. So, but just with that being said, just as an overview, with all the studying and all your research, and you really, this is your life. You're trying to find out who you are and reconcile it to your faith and stuff. In short, and we can go in deep on this if you want, but in short, does the Bible, does your sexuality, is it okay from a biblical perspective, or do you have to kind of go outside of the Bible and tradition and things like that? Or is it something that God still loves me regardless of my sexual preferences or sexual orientation, right? In short, like,
yeah.
Do you use the Bible to say, you know what? God loves me. It's clear throughout the scriptures, those kind of things. I can be a Christian and be gay.
Well, there's a lot to unpack in that.
I said in short, it's a yes or no.
Yeah. Yes. Well, listen, I think the shortest answer is, I think we misuse the sacred text if we're looking for it to justify gender orientation and sexuality. I think you can, in saying that, I think you can, in sacred text, there's this way that our sacred text actually allows us to see into our own lives. So to me, it's a little bit like how I approach the Bible is not necessarily always trying to tell me what the world is, but to try, and when I go to the sacred text, it often tells me, it expands my world when I read it. It doesn't narrow it.
So, and you don't read it as literal as you used to? It's more...
No, I'm not a literal reader at all. Yeah, I think we make a mistake.
I'm with you there too.
I genuinely, from a theological I'll put my theological leader hat on and say, I think we do ourselves a huge injustice by trying to read sacred text as literal.
As
That's
a
not to
history
say
book, and
as a history book, as a creator, and I think you'll probably appreciate this as a songwriter. There's a lot we miss out by not understanding the ways that we find the spirit of a truth by putting as many metaphors as we can, because truth is actually really hard to be very literal. To me, there's an essential quality of love. Like, how do you make love literal? How do you do it? If I need to be love in literal sense, does that mean, and that has to show itself in a material sense, does that mean that I have to, do particular things, be at particular places at particular times, love a particular person in a particular way? Like, I don't know, like so gender becomes involved. How do you really quantify that? And I'm not trying to take away the fact that there are some really strategic and if I love you, I'm going to show up to your birthday party, or if I love you, I'm going to make sure that you're, do my part to make sure that you're well nourished and provide for and safe and be a participant. But sometimes, it doesn't work out that way. I'm falling off the rails here, but that's all to say is that I think we don't, like, even in the creation narratives, every tradition has a creation narrative. And I don't know that we literally know, because we can't say what the beginning of the worlds look like. But what we can do, when we keep the metaphor, when we keep the story, any of us could write a creation story today. What would our creation story look like today when we sit down to write it? That's a question that I ask. And what does that story tell us about the essential truths that we know about God? Because the truth is, I can talk all day about what I think God is, who I think God might be, what my spiritual experiences is. But I'm always grasping for a way to tell you a story that gets to the heart of some gift that I really want to be seen, that's unseeable and intangible. So I will circle back to the question. The problem with what happens when we just go to literal sense is we actually lose the opportunity to see the fullness of God.
Yeah.
We lose by losing our metaphors. We lose the opportunity for God to be for us to see the fullness of God that I think is possible. And we turn God into an idol. We turn God into something that is very particular and very specific, and not as expansive and awe-inspiring. So when I go to sacred text, I just don't want to even read it that way. I think there's some really great advice in there, and there's also some really archaic bullshit. I mean, there really is. I mean, there's some creepy stuff.
Well, I think we have to get into the metaphors and the allegories if we're trying to reconcile the Bible to our beliefs and morality. Because, like I said, there's some crazy stuff. Like, there were some kids making fun of Elijah, and then God sent bears to maul these kids to death. You know what I'm saying? Hold on.
I know, right?
What is the deeper meaning? Like, come on, did that really happen? Like, come on,
But then at the same time, that those situations happen in our lives in a weird way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like something happens, like it's like karma, like a karma moment, right?
Yeah.
Where some guy is a jerk to you, and then all of a sudden his whole family dies in a car wreck. That's a horrible, horrible thing to have happen. But we look for meanings in those situations. And for a fact that people will go, see, like that'll happen. That tragedy will happen in somebody's life. And you get sick. Like we do that with with sicknesses and illness. I had a friend of mine who had MS, and there were people inside of our church who said, you have MS because you have sin in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking for meaning, like this bad thing is happening to you because you need to get holy. And when you get holy, this bad thing will stop happening to you.
That happened
These
to
kinds
me,
of things.
for sure.
Yeah. There's a variety of different ways that we do look for meaning. And I'm not saying it's wrong. We will, but it's those particular ways that we do it. Like it's that same way. And like somebody will read the text that you're talking about and go, yeah, I need to pray for babies to maul their bears to maul their babies. Like,
or anybody who is gossiping about me, that God will send a bear to kill them.
Smite. Yeah. That what God wants to do is smite.
Yeah.
And what I think when I read that, I think what I want is smiting. And over again, I've recently been reading through Jonah. I don't know that I don't necessarily need to believe that Jonah was literally swallowed by a whale.
Yeah.
But who of us hasn't been?
Yeah. What does the whale represent? Like, what was his name? Like, for me, it would, something else. It was the dark night. It was rejection. It was fear. It was lust or whatever. Like, those stories represent a deeper meaning for us.
It does. And I think the part that's scary for some people is to say, no, it literally had to be real or God's not real.
Yeah.
And that's a really scary thing. I deeply appreciate. This is why it's so on the edge of being scary and offensive for some folks.
Mm-hmm.
But the challenge is being able to, at the same time, I know the same thing, and we go, wow, this does literally happen. We literally run away from the callings in our lives, and it makes us miserable. Yep. We literally don't do things because we're afraid of them actually working out. We literally don't want to do stuff because we literally don't agree with God's mercy. That's literal, but it's also metaphorical. And we need the stories to be able to do that. And it doesn't make them less real. And to me, it actually expands on their essential truth.
Yep. 100%.
So you circle all the way back around to there are biblical scholars who offend me, actually, ironically, just as much by trying to take scripture and justify sexual orientation. I'm pretty uncomfortable personally with that move, although I don't think that there's not a way for us to see how the sacred text actually informs how we understand gender roles and sexual orientation, but it doesn't really speak to that specifically. I think it can give us an insight into doing that. And I don't think it has to, anytime somebody says, I have a bone to pick with
it or something.
Yeah. To justify somebody's position on no matter what your term is, you're trying to use text to kind of justify your position. I'm pretty uncomfortable with that. It's a different thing to say, this is how the sacred text informs me. This is how the sacred text illuminated this concept for me. Those are ways that language that I would still use, but that it defines what you will do and gives you, the basic instructions before leaving Earth. Mm-hmm. I don't know about that.
So what about
it's a flavor.
What about the concept of sin for someone to you have to say that being gay or same-sex attraction is a sin, and so even with that conversation, there's I don't care if you're cool with it or you have gay friends or you come out as gay. Even just the idea that I am attracted to same sex means that it's a sin and I'm just going to have to live with it. And even that whole idea, I think it's changing a little bit, and even using text and things like that. What about that idea that there are
two things that I have, two responses I have to that, particularly with, if you're going to be specific about sexual orientation and faith. There are two things I have. One is that I go back to Paul. Paul said, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. And I hate that I quote Paul. I hate that I have a scripture that I actually go to when I think about this concept. I really do. I loathe it. But it is the thing that echoes in my mind and has deeply shaped the way that I've thought about sin in my life. Is that, here's the thing. So let's skip over to salvation for a second. I have a pretty liberal sense of salvation too. I think, the bar is not real high for God to love you. It's not. I can be terrible and whatever, whatever you want to put in the blank you think qualifies God a justifiable reason to smite you. I still think that I have a faith enough in God for God to say, I'm still not going to destroy that creation. I still honor that creation enough. I still have hope in that creation enough that it might come good, whatever that means. Anyway, in that sense, that God loves me enough that no matter what that is, I can kind of do anything that I want. And I don't mean that in if you have any concept of what it means to treat something good, to treat something holy, if you really love something, you don't do just whatever you want with it. You don't. I love my wife. I love my wife. Does that mean that I get up in the morning and hit her over the head with a hammer and go, sorry? No. I want her to last. I want this relationship to last. I want her to feel loved and nurtured and cared for. You know what I do with things that I care about? I take care of them. I want something good to happen. It's the same thing with my own person. For me, a long time ago, 20 years ago, when I first started this journey, a lot of my shame and my self-loathing was centered around sex, like how many people I'd slept with, how slutty I was, to use a terrible shaming term. I thought of myself as just this really awful, terrible, undignified thing that God could not love. And in that scenario, God said, I love you, period. You don't love you. You don't love you. You don't know. You don't love that other person. It's not sex. It's not sex outside of marriage. It's not, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You don't know what love is. You don't know what it means to care for something. Learn how to care for something. Learn how to love. Forget about sex. Learn how to love. And once I started to realize that, I was like, oh, wow. Everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Let's go back there. Then I went, wow, I can have sex. The world doesn't end. I can have sex outside of marriage. The world doesn't end. I didn't get cancer. It's none of that. I didn't know how to love that person. So that you can do all of these things, but when we're talking about what is and is sin and what is sin and what isn't sin, a straight person can have sex with another straight person and it's sin. You can have sin inside of a marriage relationship and have sin in that sex just by being married. It doesn't matter. We all do it. We all have the potential to do it. But the question is, what are we doing that's beneficial for ourselves? What are we doing that's beneficial for others? What is making this thing holy? What is the motivation that we're trying to do? What are we trying to cultivate and grow here? So the second thing is Karen McClintock, I think is her name. Sex and shame. I didn't know that we were going to get this deep, so I would have done all my research. But Karen McClintock talks about how we talk about holiness and the sexual ethic. And so that sexual ethic comes into play. It's not just a list of haves and things you have to do. Because if I tell you, you have to have sex with a woman, and that's one of the issues with the LGBTQ community is you're asking me to do something that is inherently against something that I can't do well. I can't do that with holiness. I can't do that I don't love you. I can marry another person of the opposite sex because that's what's socially acceptable. Or I can choose to build a relationship regardless of the gender or any of those issues and try and love and build a social relationship inside of that includes sex, that has an ethic to it, that is holy, that does want to share life and love and creativity. So I know it's a long-winded answer. I know you wanted me to do short answers, but I think the ways that we look at sin, the summary is I think the ways that we look at sin are really problematic when we don't understand what is beneficial here. Mm-hmm. What is hurting us and what is helping us. Not just feeling good. There's a different conversation about that. It's not just about feeding our desire, but what in our drives to actually care for ourselves, care for others, and care for the createdness and the holiness of life is part of this great spiritual question that we're trying to uncover. And it's not just as easy as black and white. It has to require listening in the moment and at the time.
And I understand what you're saying. Everything is and it's so funny. I'm here reading the chat while we're talking and people are like, oh, I'm out. They're like, it's such a polarizing issue.
Am I pissing people off? I can't see that.
Some of them, but I have other people who they love it, man. And I have gay friends in ministry who are coming back to ministry. You know what I'm saying? They had to leave for a while to understand who they are. It's very similar stories. And I have gay people in my community and really awesome. I'm in Alabama, you know what I'm saying? And so as a Christian in Alabama, what do I believe about it? And people want to know what I believe, and they're waiting for me to give the wrong answer. Like people ask me that answer knowing I'm going to mess it up and give them the wrong answer. Yeah. And it determines,
I used to be afraid of it. Now I'm just like, I'll just go headlong into it. But I'm going to piss everybody off.
I think I'm just trying to get to the idea of like whether it's the definition of sin or someone who is gay, same-sex attraction, from a Christian perspective or from your perspective of what you've studied, is something broken in them? Is it a sin that they just got to live with? Is something wrong with them? And they need, because if it's a sin, then it gets into the idea of praying the gay away. I want to talk about that too, which I know so many people who've struggled and tried that.
So after all I jibber jabbered, let me say this simply: regardless of what your sexual orientation is, regardless of your gender, the question, the point that I would say to you is, you are inherently not in sin by being you. The question that is faithful is discovering who you are, being honest about what your desires are, being honest about what the realities are of your person and your body. And then as you move out from that and into contact with other people, when we're talking about expressing ourselves and building up sexual relationships, what is the holy thing? How do you treat someone as holy? How do you treat someone with love, respect, reverence, care, with their sacred worth? How do you understand your sacred worth? You cannot get to taking care of somebody else's sacred worth if you do not first understand something of your own sacred worth. I don't know how you get there. I don't. That is a question of any time that we're going, is it a sin? Can you look at what you're doing, and is it killing? Is it destroying? Is it giving somebody the opportunity to grow and be fruitful? This is the question to me. So that takes on to, like, there are people who sin heterosexually.
Yeah.
It is not a question of being heterosexual or homosexual. Like, stop trying to see this as something that you can satisfy. You're trying to do the easy work. You're skipping ahead. You've got to do the hard work. What is sacred? What is sacred about you? What is sacred about another person? And stop looking at the shell that they are in as the excuse for you to do shorthand and go, oh, you've got a penis, therefore this is what I do with you. No. Like, this is who are you, and how do I treat you with sacredness and with holiness? This to me is the question that is much harder, much more challenging and demanding of us to be compassionate, to be graceful. You do that work, and all of a sudden, all of this stuff will kind of fade away, and you're going, man, this is not going to be satisfied by me just calling it in and following the script of what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I need to listen to this moment. And it actually, strangely to me, has made me far more mystical and metaphysical than I've ever been in my whole life.
I'm hearing it in your conversation.
Right? What is a man? What is a woman?
Similar,
what is earth? Yeah.
What is sin? Sin. Yeah. What is sin? Let's get down to the deeper meanings,
But not to say that there's not sin. There are things that destroy. There are actions that we do that destroy. But the church sins in holding a theology as well. Like, let me hold this theology and let me hold this dogma over you and let me break your back with it until you are broken, and then you will know holiness.
And that's a sin for sure.
And that's a sin. So, I mean, come on. Like, but that doesn't mean that all theology is wrong. It doesn't mean, like, even in our evangelism, we're talking about you can sin in your evangelism. Sin is not just a crime. It's and they are. But there's also, like, the micro of whether or not we allow something to be fully liberated and created to be its fullness and its most beneficial self. That to me is the domain that we should really be talking about, not just preaching about what is permissible and what is not permissible.
Yeah. Again, going back to just the mention of praying the gay away. Did you ever go through that of, like, just this internal? Who am I? Can I pray it? Can I fast it out of me? I mean, I come from the charismatic renewal movement. So there's like, so being gay is a spirit. And if you fast, we got some anointing oil here. We can put the anointing oil on you, and that gay spirit will leave you. So what I seen in that was that all of these people coming to Christianity, they seen something beautiful. They felt the love of God in an encounter and through a worship prayer meeting or whatever, and they became Christians. But then they're like, okay, you got to leave the gay stuff at the door. You can't be gay and be a Christian. So they would try to hook them up with people in the congregation and go send them on dates and pay for their meals and stuff. And the person had to act like they weren't gay or try to tell themselves that, because they were really trying to find out who they were, but it would never leave. You know what I'm saying? No matter how many times people tried to pray the gay off of them, I got some really close friends who it was like this weird psychosis. Imagining
that gayness is actually an infestation.
Yeah, you could pray it away. If you pray and fast, it'll leave you. It's a demon or something. That idea.
Exactly. Yeah, I never had that. I mean, I never bought into that. I never believed it. I'd heard it. I'd watched it happen.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I didn't. If there's an infestation, if that's kind of like the language we'll use for that, I didn't feel like there was any. I didn't get the sense that there was anything foreign inside of my being. I didn't get and I still don't. I never have. I've never felt like there was something here. I felt shame. I felt shame that
and it was
different.
Only because of the faith, though, right? The faith in the community.
Like I felt like I'm different from other people, and therefore, and I can't change it. Like there's something I knew about that. I don't know why. It's not language I would necessarily use now or necessarily talk about it. But I never really had a conflict, to be honest. That quote unquote struggle that gay people inside the church are supposed to have.
Yeah.
I didn't have that internally. I had that more where I would say that struggle was trying to understand how something about me that I understand just is. Like, I don't know. Like, how do I describe to you that I'm a woman? I don't know. It's more than my boobs and my vagina. Like, I know I'm a woman. Like, I know I'm a person of faith. I know that I'm a lesbian. Like, these are things about me, but there's no material evidence that makes any one of these things. Like, I don't know. Like, they just are. And I knew that about my sexual orientation. The struggle was, how do I explain this to other people? How do I explain that inside me, in my spirit, there is peace between me and God? That there is no voice of disdain or anger, but it does ask me to be holy. It does invite me into a world. That voice does invite me into a world of understanding my sacred worth and asking these questions. So when it came time for me to accept the love that I have for another human being, by the way, which my entire sexual life now is not actually about me. It's about the partner that I have, which is really jacked up. Like, I'm just me. Like, I love the person that I love, and people are defining my sexual orientation by somebody else, which is already kind of weird. If that other person had a penis, then everybody would be fine. Like, with the love that I have for that person. I don't know. It's just bizarre. Anyway, all that to say, I already did this work, strangely enough, like 10 years prior, when I was dealing with what does my sexual life look like? What does my sacredness before God, knowing that I've sullied my body, knowing that I have not treated it well, that I have not treated other people's bodies well, what does that mean? What does that mean to my ideas of myself as a person, as a woman, as I'd already done that hard work a long time ago, and it wasn't gender specific to me. It wasn't heteronormative specific to me. It was just all about me, the person that I was before God. Did God love me in everything that I'd chosen to do? And that included a long list of sexual exploits that I was not really proud of. And like all the shame and all the guilt. And I was like, man, like I'd already done that work. So by the time I came to the LGBTQ question, I'd already had a sense that I was holy and sacred and loved before God for whatever I would choose to do with my body next. Whatever desires that I would have, to understand desire in a way that wasn't just satisfying myself for the sake of saccharine sweet pleasure, but to satisfy myself in the sense of, what am I doing to water my spirit? What am I doing to grow? What are the kinds of relationships that I'm building? So already by the time I'd gotten there, it was actually more of a shock to realize that how offensive the LGBTQ quality was to the social world to try and explain this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just think that the story is relatable to a lot of people, not about even being gay or coming out, but how do I be different and still function in
That
Christian
really is
community?
a question for all of us. Yeah. No, I love that you get that.
Any difference is because now that, like, and I know you have to deal with this if you go to if you was to go to a church and minister or something, or you can't go up for prayer anymore, because the only thing that they're focused on is that we're going to pray the gay away, or that's the gay Christian or whatever. Like, there's a lot of realms, at least in the Bible, but I deal with it because, like, when I would try to go to churches and stuff after I, embraced my spirituality and became vocal about just different things that I believe. I would go to church and they would be like, "You got a witch in your church." Now they want to pray the demons out of me because I'm a witch. I'm like, I'm not a witch. What are you talking about? Like, I'm not a, you know what I'm saying? But all these other people, they want to send you the hell pamphlets and, hey, we need to get you back and stuff like that. So how do you, like, reconcile? You just got to find like-minded people to grow with. I mean, obviously that's the case, right? Like, you got to find your tribe, your community who gets it, and a good place where it's healthy. Yeah. Because, like, if you're trying to keep going to these churches who are, like, against you, they think that your very genetic makeup is fighting you and you're a sinner and you won't repent. Like, that's kind of an unhealthy environment for you to grow in as an individual.
Yeah, for me, it's a little, it goes to a leadership question that I've been kind of asking, what's a good church for me to go back to? How do I distinguish who a good leader is or a good teacher for me? Because, I mean, I need a good teacher, right? Like, we all need a mentor. Like, what does that mean? And who are the people that I respect? And I don't just want to get yes men, Yeah. It's not good for us to actually have people who don't push us back and challenge us to really think about where we're at. But it's neither good for us to have somebody just tell us what to do all the time and not give us a way to learn that. So my response to that is finding a good community. What are the qualities of that? And the qualities that I think about any good teacher, mentor, or people that are walking alongside of us, whether they're peers, kind of on our same length, somebody who has a little more skill level, or those that we're mentoring ourselves. The qualities along all of that are that we are people who are invested in the growth of the people that we are engaged in. So is the church, like you're talking about, right? Somebody going up to an altar and somebody praying the gay away.
Yeah.
What somebody's trying to do is pray you into
financially.
a box.
I need a financial blessing. Like, they don't even want to address it. We got to deal with this first.
Yeah. What I'm talking about is like the open-handedness. Are we invested as a community, as a leader, as a teacher, to give you a skill? Like, I can tell you all the shit that I've said today. Great. If it doesn't work for you, like, test it. This hasn't been my experience. These are the things that I will take responsibility for being positions that I hold, but I also think they need to be tested. And any teacher that doesn't tell you that, any teacher that doesn't say, this is what I have learned, please grow, please expand with it and anticipate that you will grow with it. These are the qualities of leadership that we need. These are the qualities of mentorships and peers. Yes, you need to be you need people who have the tribe and are on the same mission as you. But you can't be so isolated to think that only speaking to the people who talk about the things that you want to hear, instead of going, no, this is where we start. Maybe we start with a tribe of people who are starting from the same place and working on the same issues. But you may find in 6 months you need to be in a different environment with different people and have a season in a different place and time. So those are the qualities I say that we need to look for. But it is important to have the social interaction. We still need, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say it. We still kind of need church in that sense. We still need other people. We need mentors. We need people that we are teaching as an individual. If you don't know how to teach, you don't know how hard it is for somebody to teach you. Like, what is it, the saying, do one, teach one, like see one, do one, teach one. Right? The idea of passing on this thing. Mm-hmm. If you're not teaching somebody else and you're not in a position of serving someone else with the knowledge that you have, you don't understand how hard it is for the people who are giving that same knowledge to you. Yeah. You don't know how to share it either, and to not be in the position of going, oh, I need to teach you this, but to be listening, to be in the listening, teaching, and learning positions are all things that we're all simultaneously, hopefully, being able to do. And you get to understand those kinds of positions. You get to kind of understand what kind of environment might be good for you. And not just, but I don't think there's any harm at the same time being going, no, this is what I want to learn. This church is really good at this right now. This community is really focused on it. I'm going to go over there for a while and really soak it up.
Yeah.
But then you, like any education that you get, you know, I went to div school at Vanderbilt. They'll teach me particular things, but they didn't teach me how to think. They taught me how to develop a good thought life, how to develop resources. But what conclusions I come from that were only, you know, they didn't tell me what I should walk away with, the conclusions that I should have from that. They just gave me this tool set to be able to build strong conclusions and stand by my conclusions. And I think that's somewhat the way that we should approach our spiritual lives and our relationships with one another. We should be trying to grow and mentor and shape each other and take our positions in one of those three ways.
Did you, whenever you came out and you had all this backlash against you, were there people who came to your aid, who like reached out to you, whether it was any major artists or pastors or anybody who's like, hey, it's okay, I got your back, we're going to get through this together? Or was it just like shun cold shoulder from the majority of the Christian brethren?
Yeah, no, I had some people who I really didn't have a lot on either side. I mean, in fairness, I didn't have a lot of social relationships here in Nashville, and I'd spent 7 years outside of the faith community in the States. I'd had other relationships that were way more meaningful to me, like real life dedicated friendships, like normal people, like, hey, I can't pay my rent this month. Let me talk to you about it. Like those kinds of people who see the real dirty stuff in your life, you know? But I did have people that were affirming. I had people that just immediately made phone calls. You know, I had a handful, like my former record company executive, Joey Elwood, I remember. And he's still a really good friend to this day. And he's the same guy I had a record contract with and said, dude, I don't want to be a Christian anymore. I can't do this stuff and I'm out. And he didn't judge me for that. And when I came back and came out, he was like, hey man, I miss you. What's up? You know, we go out to dinner. I make him pay. And we go out to dinner all the time. We talk about deeply moving things, and we become way better friends now. And he called me because he just didn't want me to be alone, I think. And he didn't stop being my friend. And he wanted people to know that he would be my friend in public. And he's a short list. He's on a very short list of people. Derek Webb was another guy who said, let's go on a tour together. I know
Call, right?
Yeah, former artist at Cademan Call. He's been a solo artist for God knows how long.
Love his voice,
yeah. Derek was like the one artist I think that for sure was like, I want to be with you and alongside you. And he's been a great friend in that sense. And then, you know, there have been a lot of people that I've just kind of run into that go, you know, I'm with you theologically, but they don't say anything in public.
That's the weird thing. Well, you need to tell somebody, man.
and then there's a whole host of people who were talking to me one day and then stopped talking to me the next.
That's the most hurtful thing of any kind of transition. It's like, damn, I got ghosted. You know,
you get ghosted, or somebody walks across the street to get on the other side.
Man, it's like the weird thing is when that happens to people, because that was a weird thing for me of like being a man and being in church, and I had people I did ministry with, and we would be on the phone talking, and when we would hang up, they were like, is this the Christian thing to do? But they were like, all right, bro, I love you, bro. And to have another man tell me that was kind of weird of like, how am I going to respond? Because with my wife or my mom, I said, okay, I love you too. My daughter, I love you too. Hang up. But as another man, hey, I love you, man. And when it's time to hang up, it's like, do I really mean it? Because if I'm going to tell you I love you, I got to mean it. All right, bro, I love you too. So we'd say, I love you. And then you go through some hard stuff. And it's like, man, these dudes, they claim that they love you and you're in ministry. And now they're like telling people to stay away from you. And it's really hard to go through. And there's a lot of people going through anything that marks you, that makes you different, whether it's you're coming out as a mystic or you're coming out as being gay or whatever. Like, it's something, right? That giant, that hurdle that you have to get across, that whale is something for everybody.
I love that you keep going there, because I think that's the part. If there's any rallying thing that's gone around my experience of having this public, right, LGBTQ faith conflict, is that the people that I relate to the most in this are the things that you're saying. It's like, what is the thing that's going to make people say that we're not legit in our spiritual faith community? What is the excuse that you're going to find in me next? What is the thing that's actually really true about me?
Yeah.
You know, what is the thing about me that you're not going to like, that you're going to tell me makes God not like me?
Yeah.
Makes you have an excuse not to like me because you don't think God likes me.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying you just don't like me, or you won't understand why God loves me.
Yeah.
Like, all of us have that. All of us have that. I know that I know for all the people that I've pissed off today that are, you know, on the chat thing, all of us sit here and think about the one thing that we don't want to say out loud. Think of it. The one thing that you don't want to, maybe you've said it somewhere else, but you know what it is instantly. The thing that you don't want to talk about that you think makes you not the person that you think God can love.
Yeah.
Everybody has that. Or at least had it. You can name it. Like, I've got it. Like, I'm not handicapped by it, I don't think, right now. Not by anything in particular right now at the moment. But it may happen. And when those moments happen, those are the things we all have. That is universal in our struggle with God, to understand that we are in God's favor. That is the thing that we work on. So if it's being queer, like, man, I don't know how to fix it except for just going, man, let's get that out of there. Like, that is a pee under my mattress I don't want to have there. I don't want to have anything between me. I don't want to be afraid of that thing. So I am going to go, like, let's deal with that. Yeah. But we all have it. And I think that's the fear that we have to contend with in our faith communities. Or today it's the queer community. You know, you've experienced it as a mystic, and you're not the first mystic to experience that. And, you know, there are all kinds of theologies that have been landed people tied to a spike in the middle of the town square with a bunch of burning logs underneath their feet.
Yeah.
We all have that thing that could get us right, you know, justifiably to a horde of people burned at the stake. The question is, would God do that? And I think that's the challenge that I want to try and understand. And I haven't yet in any of the deeper that I get into this, I just find it's hard. There are fewer and fewer people I have to tie up, you know, like when I'm going to quote another scripture. He who's been forgiven much loves much.
Yeah.
When you know what grace is, and you know what compassion is, and you've been tied to the stake, and you know what it means to be laid down on the altar, and to be, you know, like within the at death's door, at those critical moments where you're like, an intervention is the only thing that saved you. You can't explain it even. If you've had those moments of grace and compassion, those are the people I know who actually know a truth. I don't care how you tell me that story. And now I know that you know what grace is. And not only did I just hear you talk about it, it shows up in your life. It shows up with the way that you treat people. It shows up in the dialogues that you're willing to have. And if you're still resisting that, I know those are signs. Like, man, I really hope that when you get to learn the grace experience that that's still ahead of you, that it doesn't hurt as bad as it hurt for me.
Yeah. Do you think the church is getting better at this now? Because, I mean, obviously you came out when like all of this was like new for the church, right? And they're passing bills and same-sex marriage, and there's a lot of stuff so a lot of Christians were up in arms against it, feeling like they were being attacked by an outside force, you know, we're being infiltrated. You know, there's all this kind of weird stuff that's going on, and a lot of them still feel like that. But me as an outsider, I feel like, okay, now we're a lot of churches are adjusting. There's pastors who are coming out giving their stances on God being more inclusive than we've been teaching, and you know, this kind of thing. Do you think that the church is getting better now and a little bit more adjusted as time moves on? I mean, we've done that for everything. If we go back to trying to take the Bible literal and some of the traditions and even the clothing and how to pray. I mean, so much stuff has changed since reading the text in the early church to what it is now. I feel like this is one of the changes too, that we just have to whether it's women being pastors, some people, no, they can't have it. Right. And so I think this is another one of those issues that the church is going to have to change positions or get acquainted with or accustomed to, or they're going to be left behind. Do you feel like they're doing a good job now? I mean, early on, you were at the brunt of it, so you've kind of got to see. Do you think they're doing better?
For in the last 20 years, I've gone from anywhere from like backwater Pentecostal churches to mega churches that are basically like Kool-Aid, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think without a doubt, what I would say in the last 20 years is that progressive issues, I'll just kind of follow that, progressive issues. So, you know, like anywhere from like Rob Bell kind of really starting the public discourse on kind of lightening up the literal sense of heaven and hell. Even
Pearson was huge for me too.
Yeah. LGBTQ issues, you know, female leadership, a variety, you know, social justice, you know, a wide range of social justice issues, you know, socioeconomic privilege, misogyny, patriarchy, racial issues, feminism, all, you know, all these kinds of things. Do I think that I don't know if I would say that it's getting better. I don't know that I would say that. But what I would say is that we have it's very much easier than it was 20 years ago to be able to engage these progressive issues. These conversations are not new in my lifetime. These are conversations that I had like with one or two people in the back corner somewhere about, God, what's wrong? This is really shitty. Why are we not talking about this? To now entire churches and entire rooms are now having this conversation. So if that's the measure of better, then I think it's freer. Let's say that. I think there's a little bit more freedom for people to be able to actually bring their issues, whatever those issues are, onto the table and actually get access to, it's still hard, but still get access to people who are knowledgeable in being able to deal with some of those issues on the table.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that we're seeing a lot of people leave the church because they're asking questions and they're being told not, you know, no matter what that question is. And so I think what you represent and a lot of other people is authenticity of owning your story and being open and authentic versus trying to hide who I really am. I mean, we were going back to the allegory. I mean, there's so many stories of like, you're a king, you're made for greatness. I'm going to do something strong on you. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Everybody has these things. And so for me, it's like reconciling the faith as well. It's like, hold on, man, like you can believe and ask questions and all of these, and you could still be a Christian, man. And I think you, cause you still, you know, call yourself a Christian. You wouldn't call yourself a Christian artist at this point though, right?
Oh God, no. Just in terms of just, I don't work in that specific industry anymore. I mean, I still really get annoyed when I see a headline that says Jennifer Knapp, Christian music artist. And I'm like, no. But that doesn't mean but it's clear that my theology shows up in my work. Like, I think that the distinction is that as a Christian music artist, signed to a Christian music label and like an industrial pipeline of that, the way I talked about CCM is that it was Christian, you know, music made for Christians by Christians, motivated to make more Christians. It's a very specific genre where now I write music and I share my life. And if faith is a component of that I want to write, then I'll write about that. And I don't feel like I'm constrained by the languages about it. In fact, and even more so, I will work really hard actually to try, even if there's a theological thing that I'm trying to do, I'm actually trying, I've spent like the last 10 years, like trying to get rid of the religious language as a crutch in the way that I write and the way that I talk about these things, get back to the metaphors of our lives to be able to see God in them and not feel like I have to name that God for you. So no, I'm not a Christian music artist at all. I'm a little bit, like on a public level, I'm really happy to practice Christianity in private, but it's kind of annoying to have to be known as a Christian in public because so many people misunderstand what that is. But then I get to be an ambassador of that and talk about that from time to time.
I'm with you.
I'm not afraid to do it, but
I'm with you
it's
on that.
not, it's a funny thing. Cause I'd love to like never have a conversation like this again.
to be a musician. But at the same time, I say that I'd probably be really lonely if I didn't get to have conversations like this.
Well, I mean, I want to, you let me know when you got to go. I got a couple more questions I want to ask you. If you got to run, I know we said
sure, man. I anticipate that you will edit the podcast version of this.
No, there's no editing. We're running with it. That's the beauty of it. But you let me know. You let me know when you got to go. If you got a hard cut off, let me know. But I do want to transition, talk a little bit more about music here too. And maybe in the same vein though, did you know a young Katie Hudson when she first got started in Christian circles?
The now famous Katy Perry, of course.
Perry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Spent a few hours on the bus with her.
Yeah. I used to call every we had this power hour at lunch or whatever, and they let you call and request, and I would request her song like every day. And then I finally called one day and like, yeah, we can't play her anymore. I'm like, what happened? They said, well, she changed her name and now she's doing secular music. And it took like 4 or 5 years for me to watch an interview. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I did Christian music under Katie Hudson. I was like, oh my God. I used to call and request her music every day. But yeah, you said you had some interaction with her back in the day and when she started.
Yeah, I owned a management company called Alabaster Arts, and I believe that we were not the first, but maybe one of the first management companies that she'd worked with. We had her when she was around 17 years old, and we're part of getting her family wanted her in Nashville and getting a Christian music deal. So we were part of kind of that team. So yeah, I mean, I can't say that I know her or knew her really well. Okay. She, to me at the time, I was like, I think I'm about 10 years old, and she was a teenager and I was an adult, and I felt like I had to babysit her most of the time when she was out on tour. But I will say that like I was genuinely really impressed by her talent. Believe it or not, she can play guitar, and she's a pretty mean songwriter and a great vocalist. And when she got up on stage and did her thing solo, like that was one of the first moments in my life personally where I was like, wow, like I don't want to just live my life for myself. Like I'd love to be able to mentor and pass some stuff on. And not that I don't know that she necessarily viewed me in that way, but I don't know that I did a very good job of that either. But yeah, we were managing her at the time and kind of trying to lead her into the, be as best shepherds that we could to lead her in her CCM career. During that time, I quit doing music together. I blew out my spiritual knee and left while she was still signed with Alabaster Arts. And then she turned 18, and then whatever happened after that, I don't know. But it's been almost 20 years since I've talked to her last. So now she's pregnant and having babies and having a big rock star life. And
heck yeah,
I wish her well.
Who were some of your influences coming up as far as inspiring you to be a songwriter and just some of your musical taste?
Yeah, mostly singers, chicks with guitars. Tracy Chapman, Margot Timmons, and Cowboy Junkies. Indigo Girls. I listened to a lot of country music growing up. I love the harmonies of, like, say, the Judds. Alabama was one. I'm not shining on Mobile, but I mean, it's weird. Like REM, Sixpence None the Richer was an early CCM one.
Yeah,
for me. I loved Matt Slocum. Matt Slocum. Oh my God. I feel like my brain's not working very well in my references today, but Lee Nash and all those guys at Sixpence None the Richer were one of the first Christian influence people that when I started paying attention to my own songwriting, it's like, oh my God, I might be able to do that. Dakota Motor Company was another one out of California. But yeah, like Tracy Chapman, Patty Griffin, like just women that were like actually unusual. They weren't, beanpole, hot, sexy pinup girls. They were working class singer-songwriters. Those are the ones that I really loved. And then there's weird things like Anita Baker, like the soulfulness of her, the Rapture record was like a huge one. R&B influence. I like Eminem, strangely, as a songwriter. I love how he just fucking says it, man. Like it is like, I appreciated, he was like one of the first artists that made me kind of appreciate he was my gateway drug into like appreciating, rap poets and hip hop poets, I think. So yeah, but singer-songwriters are always the way to go.
Have you heard, I got to ask you about this up and coming artist been putting in work. Have you heard of Emmy Sunshine?
Emmy Sunshine.
Yeah, out of I think she's out of Nashville.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, there's a COVID on right now, so I don't get out much.
Well, she's a little kid. She's a little kid, but she's been doing like bluegrass. I'd say bluegrass, but it's country bluegrass stuff. But she's a really strong voice, a little kid, man, and she's killing it. So I just wanted to bring that name up, see if you heard of her.
No, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I haven't been listening. I've been buried in books for the last couple months, so I haven't been listening to a lot of music. You
talking about the COVID? I mean, you've been doing a lot of live streaming and live concerts and stuff like that on Facebook and stuff too, right?
Yeah, not a lot. It was a few weeks in. I think I've done a couple of Facebook live stuff. I don't feel the need to get out there every day or once a week or whatever. But I've been really fortunate. I've been doing live shows online when I started Div School a few years back, maybe 4 years ago now. I started doing online shows, just a kind of way to keep connecting with, my fan base when I couldn't go out and tour. And so I don't feel like we've necessarily had to do this whole new thing. But it's given us an excuse to get back into it, because I went a few months where I wasn't doing online shows, but it's been really fun and a great way to kind of connect. Sterile.
Yeah, is that kind of what the experience is on the website? Because there's I have a friend of mine was like, she needs to be doing healing work and meditation just because of your voice and the way that you're explaining.
Me?
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
Oh, God, no.
and so they wanted to know if you were available for private sessions. And then a friend of mine posted, you have the experience that's available on the website. What is that?
Yeah. So on my website, we're getting ready to shift into more Patreon kind of thing. Just more of our sustainable kind of infrastructure. But all that being said is I do have what I call, God, it's so terrible. I have menu items up there, but it's just interactive experiences. We're just trying to think of ways to kind of just keep connecting with people when we know that we're not going to, realistically, we know that we're not going to be doing shows probably for the next six months to a year, maybe. Like, I'd love it to be earlier than that, but odds are pretty good that we're going to have a lot less human contact. So what were the ways that we could do that and stay engaged? And people give me these kinds of requests all the time anyway. So if you go to jenniferknapp.com, in our store, I can't believe I just said store, in association to us getting together and hanging out. But there's a reality. Like, I can do songwriting sessions online. We can do just hangouts and chat. The other day I did a mini concert for a bunch of college girl, like a half a dozen college girls do their like happy hour every Thursday, and they wanted me to come in and hang out. So I played 4 or 5 songs and just hung out with them at their little happy hour. So I do all kinds of things like that. So it's a way to kind of just connect. Sometimes I just end up in chats for half an hour talking to people about what they've been experiencing in their spiritual lives, to songwriting, to, all the reasons why we might call and get together. Kind of the conversations I have after shows, except for we're just don't always, we don't have the shows right now to be able to go and do. So we're being really deliberate about having some hangout time. And then obviously monetizing that to a certain point is a really helpful way for people to just be supportive and keeping me active. Like that's the other side of it. If if we're not engaged, we're losing it. You kind of lose it. I just don't want to turn into, a mushroom growing in a closet. I'd really love to be able to engage. So those opportunities are there. If you like them, great. Or if there's something that you'd love to be engaged, but I'm not doing any spiritual work. I would not make any claims to that being a field of expertise.
Well, I mean, your music is just your spiritual work for sure, and then being able to open.
It has been weird. Like after about 2.5 weeks of the COVID lockdown, most everyone was experiencing some version of the COVID lockdown. About 2.5 weeks into it, like my, folks on my Facebook and Twitter and stuff were like, dude, where are you? Like, we need you. I need you, man. Like, play a show. And I was like, I don't have anything to say. I'm just going to play the same. They're like, you got to do a show. So we just went on Facebook Live, and like about 600 people showed up, and people were just, you could feel this collective exhale. Like, I forget sometimes how meaningful it is to hear another artist in the flesh do it just creates a spirit. It's putting air in circulation, it's putting circulation to the air of our spirit with each other. And I gotta be honest, I forget it. Like, it's like, oh God, I gotta work. I gotta put on makeup. I gotta tune my guitar. It's like, I gotta figure out where in my house I'm going to film this thing. Sometimes it feels like work. And then you get there and you show up, like church. You're like, oh man, I have to get up early and take a shower. This is bullshit. And then you get there, you're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So, I mean, it's really great. And I'm really lucky that I have an audience that's just like, man, we need this. Will you come be this for us? And I'll go, yeah, I'll do it. And then I'm surprised what a blessing it is when I get there.
Yeah. And you were getting a bunch of donations and stuff, and people wanting to support. That's what I found of like just setting it up. Like, people want to support you. It was like, how can we help? You know what I'm saying? If you don't give them the avenue or the means, whether you're stepping out Patreon, those kind of things, you'll find out that people want to support and just looking for ways. And that's really cool.
I was having a conversation with another friend of mine who's somewhat in this kind of same domain. We're kind of creators and thinkers. Mm-hmm. It's a weird thing for me. And it has been, and you clearly notice I'm uncomfortable about it. Like, I get weirded out by the idea that I get paid, which is so dumb. Like, it's not dumb, but it's a false insecurity, I think. Mm-hmm. But, I went on Facebook Live because I wanted to do it. Like, we also had things because people are like, where can we help you? Like, we know that this is what we want you to do. And I'm lucky that I've had a community that's taught me as much as I've taught them about the sustainability that we have in the relationships that we have. If my community still wants me to be a creator and a thinker and a leader in some sense of the spiritual issues and spend my time investigating these things, and the sustainability for me to do that requires that somebody also takes care of me. Like, I still need to pay rent. I don't need to be taken care of. There's an exchange, right?
Yeah.
There's a mucked up way that we sometimes look at money, and money's now this representative thing of going like, gosh, like, what do you need? Because I still need you to keep showing up and fulfilling this role in my community. So these are the ways that we do it now. We just change zeros in our bank digital numbers back and forth, so we can all do this. So I'm really grateful for that. I didn't expect that. But to be honest, in terms of live work, I'm out of work, and our community now understands that. And I think more and more people, even outside of the genres, right, of podcasts and Patreons and artistic communities, I think what this has done is made people realize, at least for a second, that the economy of our daily lives requires our interaction and our care and support for other people, whether it's a waitress at a restaurant, or, a truck driver, or, the checkout clerk at Publix. You need them to be there. You want them to be there, and you're grateful that they're to be there. And there's some exchange that needs to happen so that can continue to happen, mm-hmm. so we can be there for one another, and to not just purely, look at essential workers as slaves, but as people that are actually essential for us. And what does it mean for me to appreciate your essentialness to the things that I don't actually have the skill set to do, don't want to do, not my calling, those kinds of things. So I'm really grateful for it. It's, these kinds of artistic supports are important, and they can, like, $5, like most of the folks that show up, they hang out for half an hour going, I'll give you $5. Why not? I would have rented $5 Amazon movie tonight or something. So why not give you $5? And that $5 adds up. It's really meaningful. And I've wept about it many days that I'm just, it's just so crazy that people get what it is that we do, and get how important and meaningful it is to get the financial support in that. But man, am I uncomfortable talking about it.
I mean, we need to talk about it though, especially, the Christian background, right? Because there's this weird thing when it comes to getting paid, because you're supposed to do it for God. You're supposed to do it for free. Like, there was that notion of like, oh, you charge for this? And I do one-on-one sessions with people, and like, I charge for it. Like, whether you want to know how to start a podcast, if you want to, go through a healing session, guided meditation, like I do all that stuff as well. And there would be people who would say that all that is supposed to be free. Anything that you're doing is supposed to be free. And the church really, it took me a long time to be comfortable saying, yeah, I remember like people would scrutinize it. Oh, you charge for prayer? You're charging people for prayer? And it's like, it's more than that. It's not, I don't want to, so I would take it off. Like, you know what I'm saying? No, can't do it. So that means, you know, that service, you can't be paid for it. And so people wanting my music for free, like on Patreon, I got like, you get access to the music months before it's available. So like when I write a song and it's done and I'm comfortable with it, I'll put it out on Patreon before it is on an album. So the people who support for $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever, like they get that as soon as it's done. And people are like, hey, I'm not a supporter. You need to make it free for everybody. It's like, you got to understand, like if those people don't support, then that music doesn't get made. Like there's no, like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no way that I have
the reality is if I'm out on the street, you know, if the reality is the more, you know, if I'm out on the street and nobody like, if I'm out on the street, I'm not creating and I'm not doing, you know, if I'm not alive, I can't grow.
Yeah.
And it's more like a lot of the conversations I have with people in nonprofit work and for creatives as well. And even faith-based stuff where it's more a concept about what does it mean to be sustainable? And unfortunately, we're in this becomes an economic conversation because money is the unit that we use to exchange to be able to make the sustainability kind of happen. But the reality is all I need, I'm not greedy at all. I hate money. I hate it, but I need a roof over my head and I like to eat. I like food and healthcare would be nice, but I don't have that. Like, in terms of, I don't have health insurance, but those kinds of things, it's like, it's not zeros in your bank account. And if we're looking at it that way, it's a little bit off. But what I do want is to be able to have a sustainable career. I don't even care about being famous. I just want to put my head down and get to work and have the conversations that I have and have a meaningful life. I think that's what most of us want. But I think when we start to kind of look at that, I think that'll be one of the fun things after the COVID thing. I'm really curious to see about how people are going to start seeing and responding to the economic state that we've been in. Do I look at you, you know, like, you talk about prayer as a thing. What people want from you is your time and your expertise and the special thing that you bring. At the same time, like it becomes usury when we don't actually, it becomes unsustainable if all I ever do is take from you and don't give something back. Like, I need you to do this. How do I water you in return and thank you for this gift? And so, unfortunately, money is one of the ways that we do that. But also, you and I both know somebody can pay you to do something and you could not get paid enough to do that again. like it's not about that. It's about being able to understand.
I watched the clip yesterday. That's when you raise your prices. That's when it's time to raise the prices. Like, man, I hated doing that. It wasn't worth the money. Great time. Like, after you do it and you're like, you already spent the money. Now you're loathing it. It's like, okay, now it's a great time to know when I should raise the price.
Or me, I just take it. I don't do it anymore. Like, if I'm not willing to do something for free, I probably won't do it for money. Like, does that make sense? Like, that's my meter. Like, I'm not judging your meter at all. Like, for me, like, it's kind of weirdly the opposite. If I wouldn't do it for free, if you paid me no money at all, then I probably don't, like, it doesn't matter how much you pay me. Like, seriously, I hate it.
I'm tying the two together. Like, I would do it for free, but I'm not. I can't. Like, it took me years to learn. Well, right?
Because that's the thing.
Of like, even like what to charge for a one-on-one session with you, a private concert. Like, I'll do it for $20 versus I'll do it for $2,000. You know what I'm saying? Like, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Was it one of the things
because you would do it for free? Like, you just love performing. You know what I'm saying?
But you also know that if you don't, it's a sustainability argument too, because you also know that if you just do that without being refilled and being supported, that it's going to wear you out. Yeah. Like, I got more money than I needed in CCM doing what I did. And I chased checks like you wouldn't believe. I got good cash doing what I was doing. It killed me. I hated it. Like, it got to the point where that was all, I had people in my life going, we're going to need to make, $2.5 million this year, and be like, okay. And, that's not why you're doing it. You got to do it for the love of what you're doing. And if you keep doing it for free equally, like, people don't appreciate you. Like, putting putting something in there that says, like, dude, show up with a bag of potatoes. Like, tell me that you appreciate me, because that's important. It really is. Yeah. And that's been the hard part, actually, to admit out loud to other people, is I really kind of do need you to tell me that you appreciate what I'm doing. I don't need it for my ego. I need spiritual fuel and spiritual energy to know that this matters in your life and that it's worth the effort on the days that it's really hard to get up and do that.
We were doing, I started out doing gospel rap, Christian hip hop. And so we would, they would book us out to come do shows and so many outreaches and stuff. But eventually, like, they would want us to drive an hour and a half, an hour. And like, we would go because we loved to perform. Give us a stage and a microphone. We loved it. That's our element. We couldn't wait. We looked forward to it. But eventually it's like, listen, we got to eat after, and we need going to have to pay for the gas. So at least I need gas money.
You ungrateful men.
I need gas money. Oh man, I don't know if we could pay you gas money. Okay, well, you a big old church and you can't give me $20 for gas. Okay,
dude,
I'm just somebody.
Like, tell me you
I'm
love
just somebody
me, man.
Entertaining these kids. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right?
Like, how much am I worth of me? Because they would, like, Christian rappers came a dime a dozen. Everybody's a Christian rapper, so they can find anybody to entertain their kids for 20 minutes. And so I was like, hold on, like, I have to charge, and then they was like, okay, we're going to pay you, but we're not going to pay. We're going to give you gas money, but don't tell nobody. It's like, it just got really weird. But I needed to know that, look, you appreciate me. I'm just not another rapper, because you appreciate my talent, you appreciate my skill or my story, whatever it is. And so even with something little like that, it was like, look, man, just let me know that you really want me here, versus I'm just, message 20 rappers and the first 3 who said yes, you said, okay, just come. And that happens too.
If you want to eat from my garden, pull some weeds. Like, I'm not saying like I wouldn't give you an ear of corn if you're not hungry, but if you want to like keep coming back and you want to be part of my community, you got to put some elbow grease into it.
I'll be honest with you. I'm dealing with that right now. You know what I'm saying? Of like being like able to like broadcast, throwing out seed to so many people, doing podcasts, doing other interviews, and people are coming into our community. We have a Discord and we have Patreon, but then like, I want people to step out into their destiny. I want people to step out into their music career, their healing ministry, whatever it is, like, to get paid for what you love to do. You know what I'm saying? I encourage people to do that. But then like the leads become the people that I brought in. So they're like trying to like sell their product to the people that I've worked hard to like create this community, versus like, and I'm not 100% against that. I'm against it when the fact that they're not bringing any people to the collective as well. Like, if you're going out and bringing new people into what we got going on, like, it's different. Like, you're just living off of my hard work and this kind of thing. They're not contributing anything to the collective, but they're trying to see everybody as leads, as potential leads in our community. It's kind of a weird growing pain thing that we are with everyone. We're in this like spiritual entrepreneurial thing where I sell hypnosis, I sell this, I sell a guided meditation. And so you already know that they will buy because they got a session with me. That's a weird place that I'm in, but I'm cool with it. If I eat, we all eat. Like, that's how I am. You know what I'm saying? But you got to do the work. You can't just show up and just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, monetize my community and stuff. That's where I'm at. I'll just be 100% honest. But I want people I encourage it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a funky thing when you talk about having a gift, and then, I mean, that is a part of my weird discomfort where our current world that we live in is monetized our being. And
like, I hate it too. I hate 100%.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And so how do we do that? And how do we actually do that? And I mean, it is weird. Like there is this moment, like I do this in the creative world too, where everybody like was starting to do online shows. I'm like, man, you're going to wear out the public with all your damn online shows. Like, I've been doing this 4 years. Like, there's this weird kind of moment of scarcity. Yes. We think, like if everyone's doing the more people you see doing what you're doing, the more people you see doing what you're doing, you think, oh, I get less corn.
Everybody,
maybe you do.
Everything everyone's doing right now because of COVID. We've been doing this. Right? I've been doing this online community. We've been doing Zoom. We've been doing Patreon. And now, like, every time I interview somebody, I say, hey, check out my Patreon. And they go out, oh, he's got a lot of patrons. They're like, I need to start a Patreon. I need to start a podcast. Obviously, that's kind of that's just the cycle, right? Hey, I kind of encourage it. Like, hey, if it's working, do it. You know what I'm saying? But there is that that fear that comes up. Oh, now everybody's doing what you're doing. Now you're just a commodity. You're just another. Now they can go listen to their favorite pastor in a Zoom session, you know, or podcast. Their favorite pastor has a podcast now. That podcasts are becoming popular, you know?
Yeah, it's weird when the gifts that it really is. It's one thing that we have. I don't have an answer for it, but it's just recognizing that the gifts that we have also have a production element to it. There is something of an offering or a product that you can have. But I think for me, one of the questions is like, how am I revisiting, and this is like having had like, you know, like I said, blowing out a knee in career 1.0, where I felt like I was just kind of working to create this Christian product and these Christian people in this Christian environment to the life that I live now. Strangely, I don't really actually want to be famous. I don't really want to be like the best known songwriter. I just want to be me. And I want to be able to follow the calling that I have in life. And so what is the balance then? How do I understand what those products look like? Those projects look like? What am I giving to my community? These are all questions. I don't like, they're probably a list of questions that I run through every time I have a new project in my mind, or
Me too.
considering how do I need to monetize it?
Yep.
Do I need to monetize this? Do I want to monetize this?
Yep.
You know, if like, I just had this conversation today with my manager, and like, it's like, you should do this. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that, but I'm not going to. Like, we're not going to monetize this because this is not, I just don't want to do that. Like this, it just didn't speak to that. But there are all those kind of questions, and like, what does it mean to be a sustainable anything? Whether you're an artist or a graphic designer or a tow truck driver, I don't care what the profession is, but what does it mean to have a sustainable life? These are the questions that I feel like we skip over sometimes, because we confuse a sustainable life with being able to have all the technology that you need at your fingertips. Oh, I need a new laptop. Let me just go out and buy the latest Mac or whatever that is. Like, I am so tired of living in that rat race that, you know, I love money. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like everybody else, but I also know that money doesn't make success. And that at the same time, like, there needs to be a sustainable quality and a breathing quality to the fact that I need a community that tells me they value me and shows me in some way that they value me, and shows me in a way that actually translates to the way that society is. Like, it'd be great if you know, it wouldn't do me any good if everybody expressed their love to me and their appreciation for my music by pulling up a tow truck of potatoes. Like, I can't eat that many potatoes, but what I can do is this. And so for us to be able to talk about those things and understand a little bit more the economy of time and skill and mastery and obligations, because people want me to actually, like, if I'm, for example, somebody hires me, quote unquote, to come and do a speaking gig and speak about faith, what they should have an expectation that I will have read, that I will have studied, I will have spent significant amount of time thinking about that 1 hour, that my work was not just that 1 hour, but my work is not only the lifetime of work I've done, but the specific work that I did for that conversation. Then I say to you, what is that worth to you? And if you think, you know, if you think $20 is, if you would, if you think that's a great compliment to that or sustainable to that, do you think it would take, how much money do you think it took in reference to the time that I spent in doing that and preparing for that work? How much, what does that look like? So I think these are the conversations that I think are really interesting and curious. And it's interesting to me because of Kickstarter, Patreon, Facebook, and the social media in the last few years. I think we've been able to at least talk about that a little bit more. So listen, if I'm being greedy, somebody in my audience will tell me, like, dude, I'm not paying that. You should be doing that for free, you jerk.
I do graphic art as well. I do a little bit of everything, and I'm pretty good at it, and I could do it quick. But even with that, I have to slow down but I don't like to let things pile up. If somebody sends me a few dollars and, hey, I need this graphic, need a logo, boom, boom, and knock it out. Sometimes literally they'll message me 15 minutes later. I got them a nice logo. But if I send it right back to them, but it's like, hold on, I just paid you and it took you 15 minutes. So sometimes, like, even though I'm done with it, let me just wait till the next day, just because they think that, you know, just because you can work fast and just because you know how to do it really quick, that they're not paying you for the skill that it took you to be able to do it do it that fast.
Oh my gosh. If you paid me to do graphic artists, I would give you a shitty logo that I spent 10 hours on. And you like, seriously, I don't care what you pay for it. Like if you paid me $100 and let's assume that you're a better graphic artist than I am, I would think if you're getting paid for it, you are. You get paid $100 and I get paid $100. Who cares how much time? I want the quality and the experience.
That's what it comes down to.
Like, who cares that it took you 15 minutes and it took me 10 hours? Mine is not better because it took 10 hours.
Yeah. And, but
it's
understand,
weird.
But even as
like
a creative,
time and space,
even as a creative, I'm
experience.
like, man, that's the quickest $100 I made. 15 minutes, just made $100 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like as yourself of owning, because I'm like you again. It should be for free. I love making. I created something that didn't exist. I'm a creator. Like I have a spiritual connection to it. So it's something that I love to do. So to put a price on the time or the art or whatever, a lot of people, we have to work through this. Like if you are a creator and you want to sustain yourself, you got to put a price tag on it and learn what's comfortable and what's okay to charge. What are competitors charging?
Yeah. A friend of mine the other day talked about it in this way. He's like, listen, he said, if I finally came to the point where I recognized that I needed to tell my audience that I actually have needs. And he's like, I have needs. And he's like, that was so vulnerable. He'd never done that before. He'd never talked to the people that he led and the people that he was in charge. They demanded things of him. He'd never said, I need to pay my rent and I can't.
Yeah.
Like who says that, right? We're in a society where it's just like, oh, you're, especially in American society, right?
Me neither. I can't pay my rent.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? That's how we feel.
And it's really, and at the same time, like, I know that most of us will go, well, dude, there are people in the world who go, that's your problem that you can't pay your rent. And there are also people who are like, dude, I'm not just going to give you like $5 for you not to pay your rent. I earned that $5. And I think, yes, you did. You earned that $5. So what can I do to merit that for you? Mm-hmm. Like, it's just this way of what does it mean to be sustainable in our societies and not just like obligated to do it. But, if need is a real thing. We all have needs and we can't provide all of our needs on our own. And that's the challenge of how do we do this in a way that doesn't incite scarcity in other people? Yeah. And incites generosity without being, and protecting ourselves from greedy people. It's like there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
So many landmines. Oh my God.
Frederick here in chat says he said he should have paid you more since he didn't have to wait. like usually if you want something quicker, you pay more. 15 minutes is pretty quick.
Oh my gosh, yeah, right.
Like it should pay more to get it fast. But I mean, even like tithing, the whole issue of tithing is like in the churches, we made it spiritual. We put laws and you have to tithe and it was weird stuff. God is going to take it from you if you don't tithe. But just the principle of supporting what you believe in. And I talk about this of like just be open and honest with it. Hey, if you like this church, we need to keep the lights on, the AC on, the projector, the musicians. Like it costs money to do what we're doing. And if you believe in it, you will support it. I say that to also as a backhanded statement, you do support what you believe in. Like if you, because your money shows what you believe in. Going to the Bible, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Like if I'm spending money on something,
so many scripture references today.
For real. If I'm spending money on something, I can't tell you that I don't like it. Like I love Mexican food. You know how you can tell? Look at my bank account. Look at where my money and my time goes. And you have people they say like, I have a heart for the children in Africa. Well, your money doesn't show that you do, because you would support somebody who's there doing the work, who needs help financially to sustain a community there, or you would go there. So like where you're spending your money shows what you believe in. I like fancy clothing. I just love it. That's where my money goes. My money doesn't go to that, but your money shows what you believe in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's some really sustainable ways to do that too. Well, there's a restaurant down the road. We just decided we might be. What restaurant do I really not want to die during the coronavirus? Yeah. And it's my local Mexican restaurant. Strangely enough.
We've been hitting them up, man, for sure.
So I'm like, okay, well, what do I mean when I say that? Seriously, what do I mean when I say that? Am I going to go and spend a meal like, it's a little bit much for me to think about spending, a commitment to go out to eat, or, I know I can make that same meal for a third of the price.
Yeah.
Would it be as good? And my supply is meant, I'm giving that many people jobs. No, I realize that I can't rescue every restaurant in Nashville, but what I can do is commit to one of the ones around me and the community that is, because I'm limited. And I can say, listen, I'm going to support this community. So I'm going to go out once a week, and I'm going to buy some enchiladas from my local restaurant, and I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to tip well. And that's just the commitment that I'm going to make, and something like that. Because if I say that I care, you're right. I'm going to do something about it. I'm same way with one of my local brewers here in Nashville. I've been just going to those guys every couple weeks and buying a flat of beer, and just saying thank you for like what your skill and your craft. And
the same thing is with online communities and creatives, and we have to look at it the same way. Christy here in chat says, put your money where your mouth is. Quite literally, right?
Well, especially when it comes to food.
And as we're talking about food, I'm getting hungry here. Like, I haven't ate, but I have to know, since we're talking about food, all of these food pictures that you've been posting on social media, are you making that food, or is this you supporting some of the local
that's
spots?
The thing. Like, that's my second that's almost like my second hobby now. Like, I legit make all that food from scratch. So my wife does most of the baking. So anything that has flour in it that was in the oven, she's Mrs. Bakes. For those who have been following us on Instagram and Twitter. But no, like last night we made a deep dish pizza from everything from scratch, Italian sausage from scratch, the deep crust from scratch. We haven't done any pasta yet. We haven't made like any gnocchi or raviolis yet, but no, everything
the Indian food you posted on there, I believe it was Indian or Thai or something. It looked really
it was
good.
A butter chicken we did the other day.
It reminded me of a local
good.
restaurant. I'm like, how much I miss it. All right, I need to go. Could they have a buffet with all that? And I was like, oh my God, I'm ready to go back to normalcy, man.
Oh man, the thing is, like, here, like, and steaks, like, my mom sent me a ton of steak actually for my birthday, and so now I've got like this freezer full of meat. It's really offensive. But no, like, one of the things that like we like in our household, we just genuinely love cooking, and so it's been something for us to do every day. It marks the end of our workday and into a creative zone. But then one of the things that's made me really actually appreciate is how much work actually really goes into one of these things. How much I'm actually strangely I need to remind myself, like, I don't need to go out to eat all the time, because I actually make a lot better food at home than some of the restaurants that I go to. I'm no chef, don't get me wrong. But the other side of it is like how like what a legit career this is, like what a meaningful thing this is to do for other people. So like, that's kind of one of the things where like, man, like I need to be a little bit more deliberate in understanding the way that I think about food, and not just going out to eat, just randomly shoving food in my cake hole and not thinking about the people that do that work. And I don't know, but it's been fun. It's been really good to do. And it's strangely shown a side of me I didn't really expect. I think we're in like 53 days of isolation. So we mark the number every single day, and have had to make, I don't know if we've made new dishes every time. Surely we've had some repeats in there, and I know a couple of leftovers, but man, we're just showing the way it is. It's been really fun.
One of the comments here, Shelly, and on here says, she said that's all she saw when she creeped your Facebook, LOL, and thought she was in the wrong place. Like, oh, can't be the Christian artist or the artist. Like, this is a culinary site. Like,
it is. It really has been overtaken by our food. I need to maybe like put more of my creative stuff on there, but I've been working on other projects that have not been nearly as colorful and as vibrant. So the food's kind of overtaken our lives.
That's one thing about being a creative too. Like, once you switch it up, they like, we're leaving. We signed up. We signed up for music and pictures of the family, and now we're seeing food. And it's like, this ain't what we signed up for. Anytime you have it, like, this is the audience, and this is when you switch it up, obviously you find out, this is the whole discussion of the podcast. You switch it up. Hey, this is what I really am. And no, we were used to this. Come on, where'd you go?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to go to the the Food Network anytime soon. I might have to, show a little more evidence of my creative work, in terms of musical stuff and the faith-based stuff. But I imagine once we kind of get back up into Patreon, we'll get a little bit more of that going. But I mean, it really has been an interesting thing, just trying to hustle and then moving everything into the house all the time, and the shift of the real realities of what isolation has done for us, has really, the food thing popping up and becoming an Instagram thing is, I mean, our audience is really loving it though. If I don't post by like 7:30 or 8, people are like, "Hey, where's the food porn?" Like,
yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, it looks good. Like I said, I couldn't tell if you made it yourself or ordered out, but
no,
good
it's
stuff.
It's all from my hands.
People are asking where to go to follow you on social media. It's pretty much Jennifer Knapp music on everything, right?
Yeah. The easiest way to tell you to get to all of it is jenniferknapp.com. So you'll see all the Facebook links, the Twitter links. It's worth mentioning that I do a nonprofit LGBTQ faith advocacy called InsideOutFaith.org. We're a little bit quiet on that. We're right now at the moment, but that's a little bit of insight into where you'll see a lot more of my like engagement specifically over LGBTQ and faith issues. So we're on Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff, but you'll find most of anything you need to connect to jenniferknapp.com.
You got a book as well, right?
Wrote a book called Facing the Music. It's a memoir about my shenanigans in my faith life, mostly just kind of the way I grew up, how I came into faith, and kind of just it kind of leaves at the point where I was just like, oh, I think I'm even at like, it kind of like leaves at the spot where I kind of made a mild recommitment back to faith. Just kind of like leads up to that point. Is like, how do you get there? How do you get to the point of why take on a spiritual life? What were the kind of the experiences that I had about that made that, what were the mile markers, right? The kind of moments that make you realize that you're in a moment of something and on a specific journey. And it took me up to the place that I'd gotten to, which is basically, this is my life of faith. And I'm willing to not abandon it just because there's a few things that make this look weird to you. And I don't really, like, even at the time where I finished the book, I'm like, I'm not even sure that I have any solid answers for you, but this is the story of how I got to the point that I am in the road.
Yeah. And that's the answer.
Facing the Music is the name of that.
That's the answer.
It's available on, sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, go ahead. I'm interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's available on audiobook and in paper for those of you who are curious.
You still did on the audiobook. Did you read it?
Oh God, yes. It's brutal.
God,
I haven't listened to it though.
I got to do mine, and everybody's like, you have to read it, and I still haven't done it. I'm just dreading it.
I guarantee, like, I don't guarantee, but I'd be really surprised if while you're reading through your own book, you don't go, who edited this nightmare? You're an idiot. Why did you write this? Oh my God, let's stop right
Yeah. I got a friend of mine. He put out a book and did the audio version. I told him, I said, yeah, here's my book, man. He's like, did you do audio yet? I was like, not yet. He's like, don't do it, man. Because he's like not a good reader. And then he tried to hire somebody. Then he's got this other person telling his story, and it just didn't go over well. And he's like, so it just kind of scared me. I was like, I don't even want to take it on. But I know it's a huge, like, I have to do it, right? Like, as far as moving forward, and people are listening to audiobooks,
Yeah. For a book like yours, I mean, there's a lot to the continuity, and I think there's something about the spirit, strangely, about the not putting it in the voice of somebody else. When you're available, like, that matters. It's a voice that is from you, and to have it come from another voice, I think sometimes people kind of know.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird effect on it.
Well, that's one of those.
It is worth the effort.
I mean, I feel it's so weird. Like, I do a radio show, a podcast for a living, and I'm still like self-conscious about my voice and my stuttering, and people's like, we love your voice. And I'm still at the point I hate my voice. So you have a great, even I started doing like guided meditations, and then there's some little ghetto slang in my voice. It's like just little insecurities that you have to sound like, this is what a professional sounds like. This is what somebody who does guided meditation sound like. This is what somebody who reads a book sounds like. You know what I'm saying? So I still deal with those insecurities, but other people are like, no, we love it because it's your voice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is kind of one of those weird things to take ownership of the the person in the bead you are and not get dressed up all fancy. Like there's a weird balance in there, right? Because you actually do like you obviously when you're on a microphone, you know that there's an etiquette to that that allows the most people possible to be able to hear you and understand you and be clear and all those kinds of things. But also like the balance of going way too far and like Botoxing the crap out of yourself, you know, to try and present yourself to where you're not even who you are. And so there's some part of that's a real challenge to do and takes a lot of practice and energy to get right. But yeah, for sure. I mean, if you can read the audiobook, try and turn off the self-editing thing, all that stuff in your head, and just almost, you know what, I'll tell you what what helped me the most is almost reading the book like it was another person. Like somebody else had written it, that somebody else, it was a character about somebody else. Wow, and so I took my ego out of it and began to just channel the words that where I was, it was strangely after 10 hours locked in a studio booth. I kid you not. It was like a really deeply spiritual, almost meditative state that I got into to be able to do it. And I'm sure you'll find that.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
Kind of wild.
Thanks for the encouragement and the advice. So everybody, make sure you go listen to Jennifer Knapp's music. You still get royalties for all the old stuff on the back catalogs and stuff, right? Like,
yeah. The pipelines are still are still there. Just not a lot of oil running through them. Just
making sure. So if somebody goes to your Spotify, I mean, just the top 10 that will recommend it, like they're all amazing tracks. The top 10. So I've been listening to your stuff on Spotify, and even some of the new stuff that I haven't heard. It's all really good. So just encourage people to go check it out on Spotify, stream it on digital media, YouTube, all that good stuff.
All the places.
And then go to the website, support her work. Jennifer, thanks for coming on, hanging out with me. Really enjoyed it, my friend. Thanks for spending 2 hours with me here hanging out.
Thanks, TruthSeekah.
Really enjoyed it. So you have a good one, and it was a blessing. And thank you for all the work that you're doing, helping people to find out who they truly are, being okay in their own skin, feeling comfortable, and being open and honest, just simply sharing your story. It just echoes into eternity, and other people just kind of see someone that they relate with. And authenticity is key. I don't care what it is. And you know what I'm saying? You're being open and honest and sharing your story. And that by itself is so powerful. Thanks so much for being you.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
God bless. Thank you. Jennifer Knapp, ladies and gentlemen. Good stuff. Make sure, for real, if you're listening to this and you haven't heard her music, go check it out. And if you know who she is already, go listen to her music again. Like, again, there were so many songs that I forgot about. I mean, you always remember the hits, right? And I knew those hits. They were listening to the hits. But then the next ones and the next ones, like, every song was a hit. There's like the playlist that's curated on Spotify. Every song is amazing and it's awesome. So make sure you're listening to that, man. Supporting people who are being open and authentic. They don't have a machine behind them anymore. So that's where support comes in. You know, and every little bit helps. Every retweet, every small donation, and all of those things go a long way with helping people. So make sure you go check out her book, all that cool stuff. And people work really hard on this stuff. And so somebody like that who has been on the front lines, trust me, like she really caught it hard, man. When she came out and went on Larry King as this Christian pop artist or folk artist and rock artist who came out as being gay, and she caught it hard. And it's a hard subject for a lot of people, a lot of Christians. Again, even for me, being in Alabama, being a Christian, and people want to know my stance, and I'm trying to figure out biblically and theologically, like spiritually, what do I believe on that matter? We've been taught what to believe, and I don't know that it was true anymore. And the more, people want to know my stance, I just want to have the conversation, and that's how you learn. And that's one thing that I found out is that in the South, for the most part, people won't even have the conversation. And before we went live, Jennifer was talking about, she just came to Mobile, and I missed her. I had a dinner that night, family dinner, and so I wasn't able to make it. She just came to Mobile, but she was like, she hadn't really done a lot of music in the South. It was kind of like a void there. So she came to the South and said it was packed and had an amazing show. And I had some of my friends were live streaming that event, and I hate that I missed it, but this was several months ago. Being in Alabama, there's a stigma when it comes to gay people, or especially just even a title like this, can a Christian be gay? I mean, first thing, you ever have a yes or no opinion, probably even when you read that, especially from the South, and the majority would say no. But the thing about it is like, you got to at least have the conversation. Most of those people have never even had the conversation with someone who believes differently than them, whether it's gay or whether it's a Muslim or whether it's a Hindu, whatever. And so that's what this show should promote, is just letting you have the conversation. Even if you're not going to go out and have the conversation, at least you heard me have the conversation, right? You heard us talk about this, being open, honest, and authentic, which is powerful right now. And that's one thing we've been told that we can't be in the church. And so when a person comes into that and knows their worth and knows who they are, and whatever things that you have to go through, that whole journey, it's the hero's journey. You're going to fight your giants. You're going to face your Goliaths. You're going to be in the fire, but you're not alone. There is a spiritual practice behind it. There is this fact that God still loves the unlovable. And that's the whole story of the Bible, of the gospel, is the fact that the people that we would say are the rejects, the people that we have given up on, those are the ones who God uses. He leaves the 99 to go after the one who we say, yeah, they've done too much. They've went out there too far. There's some things about them that they're broken. Did you hear about this? And those are the ones that God uses, man. He shows his love to us and through us. And, man, that's the message of the gospel. And before I went live, there were some people in the chat, and I shout out to Allie, and we were talking about the subject. And even before we went live, somebody read the title and was already commenting, nope, the Bible is against it, whatever they were saying, and so my friend Allie commented and said, that when we get to the end, we're going to be surprised, like, who made it into the kingdom or who got into heaven. There was a conversation in the chat. And that's the thing. A lot of people feel like they own it. And a lot of people are going to be upset. When isn't that something? I think that's what we need to identify. Why do you not want that person to be equal to you? Whether it's a person of a different skin color, a person of a different belief, sexual preference, orientation, whatever it is, man. We're gonna be surprised about how far and how deep the grace of God really goes. And the person that you most hate, the person that you most vilify. I've run with a bunch of Christians who even talk about like Satan getting saved and demons getting saved. I know it's far out, but it's the thing that you hate, but you identify that God's love is able to reach to them where they are. I don't get into all of that stuff, but I'm open for the conversation. It's the person that you think, no, they deserve death. They deserve shame. They deserve to be scrutinized in front of people. And that's me. I'm that person. I'm that person who don't deserve it. You're that person. You don't deserve it. Like the thing with the self-righteous believers is that they feel like they've done something to earn God's love. You didn't do nothing. It's by grace through faith, lest any man should boast. You don't have anything to boast about. Like, there's nothing that you can do that will draw you any closer to God's love. There's nothing that you can do to make you any more acceptable in the sight of God. From the Christian tradition, he does that through the lens and work of Jesus Christ on the cross. That God no longer looks upon your sin, but he looks at you through the finished work of Christ, through the love and grace of his son, man. And that's for everybody. And so we feel like we did something to get saved. We did something to make God. We cleaned ourselves up really good. Nah, we just put a good shroud over it. We gotten good at hiding our sin and our defects and flaws and the things that they told us were not acceptable. And once people own it, then we find out, look, the very thing that I thought was going to be my demise was the very thing that turned this thing around for me. My mess, God gave me a message. And I thought I was finished. I didn't know God was going to use this to give me a platform and to win many sons in, you know what I'm saying, over to the goodness of God. The thing that you thought was going to kill you, the Bible talks about like what God meant for what the devil meant for your harm, God will in turn use for your good. Your mess will become your message, and he'll clean you up and send you right back out there to those people, preaching love and forgiveness and and righteousness and acceptance, which that's what we have in Christ. And so anything that you feel like you have one up somebody, that's what I've noticed, is that we feel like we did something to deserve it. Well, brother, I repented of my sins and I quit sinning and God accepted me. No, that's not it. You have to repent. Yeah, you need to turn from the things that are killing you, the things in your life that's not good, the things that are character defects, personality flaws, addictions, and yeah, everybody got it. That's the term repent is it's universal. Just turn from the things that are killing you, man. That's always been my message. My message has never changed. If there's anything in your life that's causing you harm, self-destruction, beliefs, behavior problems, whatever it is, people in your life that's causing you harm, you need to repent from them people. Do a 180, turn around, get away from them people. Don't go. And I think the message of this podcast as well is, don't go to where you're tolerated. Go to where you're celebrated. Go to where you're appreciated. And we got this weird thing that we have to go back to those same people or go back to that same community or church that rejected us, that kicked us out. And we want to, act like we don't believe a certain thing anymore, or that we've changed up and now we're acceptable and those kind of things. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. So go to where you're celebrated. Don't go to where you're appreciated. Don't go to where you're tolerated, man. And so for some, we just keep getting into these destructive patterns. I don't know what it is, but we want to, maybe it's part of a redemption story. We kind of go away for a little while and come back and act like, you've made the changes and now you're a better person or whatever. But you don't understand that God loves you through it all. Like, no matter what you're going through, no matter what your belief is. So just make sure, man, just be encouraged. And so don't feel like you own it. Don't feel like you did anything to do it. Because if you did something to acquire the grace of God, then you can do something to lose it. And that's not the gospel. That's not it. God is against divorce. He would never give you something and take it back. He's married to the backslider. You know what I'm saying? No matter, you're a work in progress, man. Until the day that you leave, we're here to learn. We're here to go through this process, to take tests, and theologies and beliefs and actions, and people change, man. You change every 6 months by what you've been putting in your body, you've been eating. Your gut biome, which is your second brain, some people say your first brain, changes. Your genetic makeup, your cells are shedding skin, your shadow. You're becoming a different person. So somebody, to think that you have to be this one way to be accepted, or you have to be this one way to fit in, or go back to, amongst them people, we got to shed that off. It's all about change. Oh, you changed. You damn right I changed. You didn't know this about me. You didn't know this. You didn't know what I was dealing with on the inside. All you seen was what you wanted to see. All you seen was what I showed you, because I couldn't show you the other side. I couldn't show you the ugly sides. And there's a song by a band called Vota, V-O-T-A. It's the only song I know by them, but they have a song called If You Don't See the Real Me, I think is the name of it. But it talks about, like, if you don't know about the dark side, you're not going to know about the light. Like, you don't know what I've been forgiven from. You don't know the things that I've done. In Christendom and religion and social circles, have made it unacceptable to own your story. God loves you if you're acceptable. If, man, like, I remember listening to that song, and it's like, if you don't see the real me, you're not going to see the power of God in my life. If you don't see what I've been through, if you don't see what I've dealt with, you're not going to know how much that God's grace has reached out to me. And I think that in our weakness, he is made strong. That I'm showing you my weakness. I'm showing you that I'm vulnerable. I'm not perfect. God ain't looking for perfect people. We in good company. That's it, man. So it was interesting that I seen that comment, and even just reading the comments here, and everybody's in different places. Listen, I get weird messages, man, from people. I reach people from all walks of life, all across every spectrum, and I'm definitely gonna lose subscribers over this interview. It's just how it is. We're dealing with religion and all that. It's definitely, because I got a lot of Christian people listening to this, but I'm gonna gain subscribers as well. God is inclusive. He loves you, no matter what you've done, no matter what you believe, no matter your sexual preference. I believe that God's love extends to everybody. So I'm going to gain subscribers out of this too. But I say that to say that I get weird messages from people trying to say, like, you know, they hear an interview I did with a gay person, and I'm just having a conversation. I'm not affirming them. You believe this? What you mean? I'm just having a conversation. And again, that's what the church never did. You never talked to these people. You just told them what to believe, told them how to think, told them how to live. And that's the reason you got so many people on the DL, on the down low. She mentioned Ted Haggard, but he spoke up for her. He said, but there was a time where like these people would be really against it. And what happens? You find out that these guys are really vocal because it's insecurities that they have. Ted Haggard came out as getting caught with young boys and smoking meth and all kind of stuff. He was a big time prominent preacher. You know, there's the guy who was in the whole like gay conversion therapy, helping people pray the gay away. He come out as being gay. You know, and some stories we got to say, like you'll see testimonies in your newsfeed that people get saved and the gay spirit leaves them and they start a family and all of these things. And that's good. That's their story. That's what you got to understand. That's their story. That's not universally everybody's story. It was their story. It worked for them. Trust, it don't work for everybody. So you got to reconcile your faith and see what you believe. And if it don't work for you, don't act like it did. That's not being honest. That's not being open. I got people, the dudes who discipled me, man. We said, I don't even like this terminology. He struggled with homosexuality, right? And that was kind of the thing I wanted to get to. You know, is it a sin? Is it something that you struggle with versus something that you are, that you were created this way, you were born this way, right? He struggled with homosexuality, and they would pray for him, and he would get, you know, receive the spirit and all this kind of stuff, and he would stay away from it. But then those attractions never left. Like the same-sex attractions never left this guy. And I know countless, you can probably count them, but I know a bunch of people personally who they've tried to receive prayer. They've tried to almost make these people get married. And I had people trying to arrange marriages. And they would, like, in the prophetic movement of what we've been involved with, they'll like prophesying over them. I see wedding bells between you two. And the guy was gay. He got in the church. He got saved. God came into his life, changed him. But they thought that they told him that he couldn't be gay, so you had to be with a woman. They were trying to make this guy marry a woman, which he liked her. He probably loved her, but he wasn't attracted to her sexually. He was attracted to men. It never left. No matter how many times they prayed, no matter how many times they fasted. And the thing is, you gotta be open just to have this conversation, man. Y'all pushing people away from Christ, thinking that you winning people to him. I got a really good friend of mine who he's just on this rampage against gay people. Like a really close friend. He's hit me up, mad that I don't use my platform to condemn gay people. You got to tell them they're in sin, bro. You got to tell them, bro. I said, no, you got to tell them. And let me know how it works. No, you're a cop-out, TruthSeekah. You used to stand for something. You got to tell the gays they're taking over. Nah, bro. What you need to do is meet a gay person, go talk to a gay person. He's in Alabama, backwoods. Listen, man, you got to tell them that. No, you got to tell them. Show me how you articulate the love of God that is converting gay people. Show me how it's working. Show me how you use your platform to do it. I said, if it works, I'll follow suit. Show me how it works and I'll follow suit. You have my word. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. No, it's a cop-out for you. Why you want to try to hijack my platform to condemn gay people? I'm not here to condemn anyone. You know what I'm saying? So this is the conversation. I'm in Alabama, y'all. It's crazy. You know, and I really had to work through this and really had some eye-opening conversations with people on here about it. And I'm learning for sure. And it's the best episodes when I'm engaged and I learn. I'm trying to learn. I hate doing episodes with, okay, tell me more. Okay, yeah. All right, thanks for coming. No, I'm trying to be engaged. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to take something away from this, stimulate my mind, right? And if you don't talk to people, if you don't ask the questions, you'll never have the answers. And that's what you got to do. You got to quit talking and listen. Listen to somebody, man. Listen to a Hindu. Listen to a Muslim. Listen to a gay person. Listen to them. You ain't listening to nobody. You're just talking, evangelizing. If you shut up and listen, you'll learn so much. You'll learn so much. But different messages I've gotten over the years. People was like, and even, from even some of my gay friends who, I don't know, they want me to stumble, or I feel like it's a trap. They trying to get me to like respond to the gay issue and want my stance on it as if it means anything, but they're ready to unfollow me, unfriend me, and tell everybody to do it if I answer wrongly. That's why a lot of these subjects I stay away from, because they're too polarizing. I learned that, dealing with politics, talking about Trump, making little suggestions at Trump. I remember, and I'm not into politics. I think it's all set up. I think it's all fake, right? And that's, unfollow me on that. But they would want me to choose a side, left or right. What are you, left or right? And so I'll share funny memes about Trump. Then I'll share funny memes about the Hillary. You know what I'm saying? And people, they think that I'm for or against or bashing. But when the Trump thing first came out, I remember saying this naively. And I read comments on social media where people are still saying similar things. They say, and I said, if you voting for Trump, unfriend me. And I don't know if he said something stupid or is where he made fun of handicapped people or whatever. But I said that. And I didn't really mean it, but like I lost all of my friends list got a lot smaller, and people commented, people who I didn't think. I had like people who are left and they're into like magic and witchcraft, and they were like Trump supporters. I was like, oh damn, I didn't mean for you. I just meant for the bigots to unfriend me, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and people are like, if you're this, then unfriend me. A hard right or a hard left. I really do feel like the narrow path is in the middle. It's not too far on the left. It's not too far on the right. I think it's the analogy that I talked about, going bowling, right down the middle. Right down the middle. The narrow path is right on down the middle of the lane. It's not too far left. It's not too far right. And that's with politics, right? Both sides have good points. That's with religion. Both sides, multiple sides have great points. How about take the best of them all, put them together, right? If it's truth, it's gonna ring true universally. It's not just true for Christians; it's true for humanity, mankind. But people will try to get you to say, "Hey, what do you feel about the gay agenda?" Or I remember people say, "What do you feel about transgenders?" What does what I feel about transgenders have anything to do with the price of rice in China? Like, what is that? You're just waiting for me to say if I'm for it, then I affirm you. If I'm against it, you're going to unfollow me and tell listen, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. So there are some polarizing things I try to use wisdom now to stay away from. Even if I have an opinion, it don't matter. It's not going to change anything if I'm for or against it. So I try to choose my battles wisely. And obviously, we talk about the flat earth stuff. I've had Santos Bonacci on here, like the king of flat earth, and I seen what it did to his platform when he stood for something that, astrotheology and syncretism that won many of us over. I have a lot of subscribers because of that. But then he like abandoned ship and went nothing but flat earth. But when he lost so many people, it's so ludicrous. It's so far out. But there was, he's a flat earther. That means you're a crazy person. You've lost touch with reality. I mean, so much other like preconceived notions and things that are tied in with that people who haven't even looked into it or won't. But just because he talked about it, he lost so many people, and it was so polarizing. So I try to stay away. I'm already doomed dealing with, Christianity. And so it's so polarizing in and of itself. I use the term God and Jesus. I mean, it's already polarizing. So I think it's about choosing your battles wisely and showing love and grace to people who don't believe like you. I get these messages from people who try to, they push their beliefs on you or push their agendas on you or their fears on you. One guy hit me up. I think this guy was from Africa or something. He hit me up and was like, he's seen the interview I did with a friend of mine, Davion, who's gay. He come out of a church, was a gay Christian, and now he's, I think he's just more of into magic and stuff. But we had an amazing interview, and we went deep. And I talked, very similar conversation, but we went deep, and I learned a lot in that conversation. But after that talk, people were like, condemning me for having the talk. Why you didn't tell him he was going to hell? And it's like, no, won't you start a podcast and tell him he's going to hell? Get him on as a guest, talk to him and tell him he's going to hell. Won't you do it? You know, and people want you to speak for them, man. They want you to represent what they represent. But they were trying to liken me to somebody else. And in this case, it was, if anybody knows who he is, Ian Clayton, the Christian mystic guy or whatever. They're like, Ian Clayton, he wrote a book on it. And Ian Clayton's against it. So you need to be against it. Why are you trying to equate me to Ian Clayton? I'm not Ian Clayton. You know what I'm saying? That ain't me. Why you holding this guy's standard to me? No, that's not how it works. We try to push our agendas and our fears and things on other people, man. It don't work like that. A hard yes or hard no. What is it? Come on, tell me now. You for or against? For or against? I need to know. Because if you say yes, I'm gone. I'm gone. Because I'm very much against it. Man, come on. Y'all better learn some inclusiveness. Understand that God is inclusive. And if he can love your messed up self, he can love anybody. And that's true. Then you have some people who did something to earn it say, well, you know what? God, he don't love you, sir, because you're a sinner. Only if you quit sinning. And then here we go with this endless argument of religion and rejection, because that's what it leads to. Listen, man, again, I just go back to God loves everybody. He really does. And I think that's the most empowering thing that you can hear. I think that's the most controversial, the most scandalous thing that you can hear, that we can talk about, is the fact that God loves everybody regardless of race, color, creed, sexual preference. I really believe that. And so, yeah, if you didn't take anything away from this, just take that away, man, that God's love is inclusive. And there's more people who are going to make it in to the kingdom of heaven, even right now, than you thought. And hopefully that don't make you mad. If it makes you mad, if it makes you upset, and you feel like you own this, that you did something to create it, again, I think that's the problem. That you feel like you did something, and so you have the power to let people in and say who gets in and who doesn't. Well, no, the Bible says it. It says very clearly and plainly. No, what we have today is very different than what we've seen in the Bible. There's so much stuff that we got bass backwards that in Christendom and what has become the norm for us. And so make sure you're using the power of your words to create, that you're creating, you're helping people, man, who are out there struggling, who are going through stuff, who are dealing with things that you have no idea. Just being open and honest with my story has helped so many people. And I just encourage you to do the same, no matter what it is. And I think that if we just share what's working, what worked for us, I think we're going to evolve. We're going to ascend, and being open and honest, that's the only way you can get to the bottom of that. So, somebody asked about, Lauren Daigle, wanted me to ask her about Lauren Daigle. And that's so funny. It just shows you, man, that they asked Lauren Daigle on a big show, CNN or somebody, it might even been Larry King, I forget, but asked her about her view of same-sex marriage. And, she said she didn't know, God loves everyone. And so, and a bunch of Christians came out against her and all did blogs and write-ups and retweets and don't support her because she supports gay marriage, whatever. It's like people are so quick to condemn what they're against, man. I really like the lyric in the Casting Crowns song. It says, nobody knows what we're for, only what we're against when we judge the wounded. Like, everybody knows what you're against, but nobody knows what you're for. There's these people out there who have these ministries on YouTube and stuff. And so I call them reaction ministries. They don't create anything. They don't exposit the word of God. They don't embody their encounters and experiences and beliefs and create content or create sermons or ways to teach people, but they watch other people's videos and they critique it. It's really big in just YouTube right now, where you can do a video of you listening to somebody's song, and as long as you react, you notice though the reactions have to be like really explosive. Oh my God, I never heard this song before. And it's an old song that you love. And so reaction channels. And there's a bunch of YouTubers in the Christian realm who have reaction ministries. You do not bring anything original to the table. All you do is watch what somebody else is doing, and you give commentary and you critique it. Most of the time it's because of something that they're doing wrong. This is where the Brother Wayne character comes from, critiquing others and telling you why God is against it and why. And there's so many, and some of these platforms blow up because they're really good at critiquing others. That's a slap in the face of a creative, man. That you got your platform on critiquing. You don't bring anything to the table, but you just want to critique what I've brought to the table, what I've came up with. I know everybody has an opinion, you know what I'm saying? But some people blow up like that. So just understand that there's always, no matter what stance you take, just being yourself in your story, you're going to have people for and against you. Right now, I can go on my social media. I have an eclectic following. I could say Jesus is king. And I got so many people who say, yes, amen. Praise God. He saved my life. He changed me. He's the most beautiful thing ever. And there's all these beautiful comments, but somebody will come out and say, Jesus isn't real. Jesus is really the devil. Jesus is this. Jesus is that. And so like, you're not going to please everybody. So you have to make sure that you're living your life, not trying to be a people pleaser. That you live your life to please God. That you live your life to be comfortable, and that you would have a clear conscience between you and God. That's the gospel. Don't anticipate what other people are going to think about what you do. They're going to judge you. Yeah. When you put that out there, when you do that healing course and you charge that much money, they're going to judge you. Why is he doing? Why is she? When you put out that music, they're going to judge you. When you do they're going to judge you. But guess what? They're judging you already. They're already judging you. They're judging you sitting timidly with your hands in your pocket, not living your best life, not walking in your destiny, not speaking your truth. They're already judging you. So look, don't live to please people, man, because you're missing out. That's a prophetic word for somebody listening. Renita says, no friends should bait you. They aren't really friends. Exactly. Yeah, when I noticed that, do you know what? And I'm not really friends with that person anymore. Most of these people who try to bait me, because you could see through it. Hold on, why would you ask me that and then want me to answer it on a public forum? You know what I'm saying? Like, you baiting me, bro. You trying to, because you already know. You know I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. Why are you doing that? That's demonic, man. No, we need to draw a hard line in the sand. It's a big issue. Or you speak to the issue then. You critique and judge what I bring to the table, whatever. Because people are good at that anyway. But don't trying to get me to speak to your issues, what you feel, what you're dealing with. Anyway, that's my rant. You know what I'm saying? I know that if you want to blow up, if you have to be controversial, you have to be what do they call it? There's a word for it. Help me out here, Chris Garner. When you're against it's not controversialist, but you have to be like an antagonist. You always have to go against the grain. Your titles have to be cut and dry. Like you'll get clicks. You know what I'm saying? But I don't find that. I try not to do that at all. Shelley says, Derek, you will be overwhelmed. Derek, you will be overwhelmed in your ministry. You are speaking in a way that people have wanted for a long time. I can't imagine how many want to be in your circle. I'm praying for you. Thank you, Shelley. Yeah. Also, too, let me end the podcast with this word that I learned. I learned it from listening to another podcast, but a word called, I just thought this was cool. I want to get it out. A word called pronoia. Pronoia. Have y'all heard about that? I just heard about it like yesterday. Pronoia. The definition of pronoia is the opposite of paranoia, where you think everyone's out to get you, where you think that the universe is just conspiring against you to make you fall, to you got to look out for everybody. They're coming for you, man. They're trying to make you stumble, trying to make you fall. Pronoia is the opposite, with the belief of understanding that the universe is working in your favor, that the universe wants to bless you, that God is looking for ways to bless you, versus like God's trying to get you to mess up, or God's ready to hit you over the head when you mess up, or give you a paddling, or whatever way he chastises you. He's looking for that, versus on the other end that God is looking to bless you. God is looking for you to enjoy life. God is looking for ways to, God or the universe, interchangeable for a lot of people. I thought that was a pretty cool word, pronoia. And I think that if you're dealing with paranoia, I think switching over to pronoia, knowing that the universe is working out, all things are working together for your good. That's the Bible. All things are working out for my good. If you change that, you might have to manually do that. Every time you think of something bad, everything you think of something negative, you replace it with a positive. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, I just can't do it. I ain't good enough. It's going to be too hard. Nobody's going to listen. Change that thinking with, okay, when I bring this to the table, it's going to bless people. It's going to, when I get done with this course, it's going to change people's lives. When I get done recording this song, people are going to be blessed that if I didn't do it, right? I have so much value to bring to the table that it's going to help people. And when I help people, it's going to create room for other people to help me, because that's karma, right? You sow what you reap what you sow. If I put out good stuff, put out good things are going to come back. You know what I'm saying? I think that even just that word in itself, pronoia, is a good way to look at things, to understand that there's a blessing in it all. When it seemed like your back was against the wall, where it seemed like there was no way out but God, what the enemy meant for your harm, God in turn used for your good. I like to say my setbacks was a slingshot, because literally I had what I thought was going to kill me made me stronger. The things that I thought were going to shut me down really propelled me to my next level in my own spiritual journey, intellectual journey, inclusiveness, financially. You know what I'm saying? The things that look, you're done, bro. You messed up. It's over. It's those very things that were keys that unlock doors to the next level. Your setbacks or your slingshots. Look, I enjoyed this conversation. Freaking got to talk to Jennifer Knapp. Love her music. Trust me, go to Spotify and listen to all those songs that are recommended when you go to her artist page. All of them are good. Every single one. Like, really good. They're all like hits. Trust me, they're really good. If you don't know who she is, and if it's been a while since you listened to her, listen to her music, support her work, man. Applaud her for being open and honest about her journey. Even if you don't agree with it, man, this fact that she's being open and honest, come on. It's so powerful, man. Like, I don't agree with you, but look, man, I just see you shining, man. You being yourself. You ain't trying to be me. You ain't trying to be the Apostle Paul. You're not trying, you being the person that God created you to be. Once you understand that, you become comfortable in your own skin, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you. No matter what you want to do, God will open up doors, make a way where there is no way. That's my story, and it's your story too. Embrace it. Thank y'all for believing in my work. Thank you for supporting on Patreon, buying my stuff. It means the world, my book, all that cool stuff. Like, I can't do this without it as well. I got a bunch of stuff that I'm bringing to the table. You know, I do my guided meditations. I do one-on-one sessions and all of that stuff. So if anybody wants to pick my brain about anything in business and life, spiritual journey, whatever it is, a guided meditation, one-on-one, you can book me for those things at my website. Go to TruthSeekah.com, click on I think it's session, or click on one-on-one, and anything you want to talk about. I know most of it's just been like spiritual healing and guided meditations, but there's a lot of people who hit me up wanting to know how to start a podcast, want to know how to take it to the next level, how to work on music, how to record, like whatever you want, whatever area you want to step out in. And you know that I have years of expertise, and I've learned how to do it, and it took me a really long time. You can work with me, so check that out on my website as well. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Thank you guys for hanging out with me 2 hours and 38 minutes into this amazing episode. Love you guys. Peace, peace.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.